Chapter 8:26. Lioli, are you online? Not online? It's okay, I'll do it myself. Heavenly Holy Grail. Hurry up and give me a modern chemistry basic cup.
What?
I don't have enough faith points. Oh, right. Yesterday I gave the Holy Grail just the right amount of faith points. In order to fill that small pond, I squeezed it dry. Stiffly calculating the 400,000 points of faith in the Heavenly Holy Grail, Master Light felt that he really couldn't decide whether he should accept it or not. The beggar version's minimum requirement was 600,000. After a day, he had 400,000 faith points in his hands. He couldn't even reach the beggar version standard, so he could only watch anxiously. Brother Guang, why are you in a daze? Your book is here. Bai Fan looked at Chen Guang's dazed expression and walked up to him like a ghost, waving his hand from time to time. Chen Guang came back to his senses. He was infuriated by Bai Fan's blind arrogance. He took the book from his hand and turned around. Shut up. My Weibo advertisement fee starts at 600,000 and there's no upper limit. Since you're my friend, I'll give you a 20% discount. It'll be 800,000 per advertisement. Now you owe me 1.6 million. Wait for my lawyer's letter. After speaking, Chen Guang turned around and left. Even though he knew he was joking, Bai Nyangzi wailed behind him. No. Brother Guang. I was wrong. Let's do it again sometime. As soon as he opened the door, Lin Jingwei and Xiong Jinke walked in from outside, talking and laughing. Xiao Linzi was even carrying the breakfast for Bai Fan. Brother Guang, are you going to make up for the exam? Come on, I have to say this modern chemistry basic 4 is really not easy. At the end of last term, we were passing notes around. There were a few questions that required Gaoya to pass the class monitor's answers back to us. We only managed to get some answer points, but we didn't get any process points. I don't know what kind of medicine the chemistry maniac took, but the questions he came up with are so difficult. Lin Jingwei stuffed the breakfast bag into Chen Guang's hand and said, By the way, have you had breakfast? Bai Fan snatched the bag from Lin Jingwei's hand. Stop fooling around. Didn't you see Brother Guang's greasy mouth? This is mine. On the other side, Xiong'e had already rummaged around in his backpack for a long time. He took out a few pieces of paper and handed them to Chen Guang. He spread out his hands and said in a low, muffled voice, Brother Guang, these are the pieces of paper we used for last semester's exam.
Take them.
Maybe the questions will be the same. Chen Guang was so angry that he almost laughed when he saw his third grandson's seemingly warm concern, but was actually secretly delighted. Go, go, go. Go to hell. Don't waste my time anymore. Grandpa, I'm going to take the exam. After cursing, Chen Guang turned around and left. Damn it. The so-called bad friends were referring to these three people. When one side was in trouble, all sides would like to praise them. Brother Guang, you have to work hard. All of our dormitory members passed last semester's exam. You are our only child. Don't ruin the golden body of our dormitory. Lin Jingwei waved his hand at the door of the dormitory. He looked like he was cheering him on, but in fact, he was showing off his threat. Bai Fan added, I heard that if you don't fail a subject, you can participate in the excellent dormitory selection and get 2 months of electricity free. Xiong Jinke said again, I didn't even pass a subject. These 3 bastards, 2 months of electricity is nothing. At most, I will pay for it for you. The most hurtful thing was that Xiong'e said, I didn't even pass a subject. If I fail a subject, doesn't that mean I am worse than Xiong'e? How can I raise my head? You 3 bastards, watch carefully. If I really die, I will hang myself on the southeast branch. I won't come back. I will commit suicide to apologize to the world. Okay, I promise I won't embarrass myself. After that, Chen Guang went downstairs. Bai Nyangzi and the other 2 looked at each other. Bai Fan said, Don't tell me we've gone too far? Xiong'e said, If I fail a subject, I will hang myself. If Brother Guang really dies like this, we will have committed a great sin. Lin Jingwei waved his hand carelessly. It's okay. Good people don't live long, but scourges live for thousands of years. For a disaster like Brother Guang, if he doesn't live for tens of thousands of years, his reputation will be ruined. Listening to you, it sounds like he is a scourge. Bai Nyangzi asked curiously. Lin Jingwei nodded and said meaningfully, in a sense, he is indeed a scourge. Bai Fan said, I will repeat what you said to Brother Guang, if he can still be shameless after the exam. Chun Guang jogged all the way to the first floor. Just when he was about to go upstairs, he saw Sun Xiaoxuan and Gaoya looking around as if they were looking for someone. Who are you looking for? Maybe they were too focused on looking for Chun Guang, but they didn't notice Chun Guang even when he was behind them. Ah! Are you trying to scare us? When did you sneak up here? Gaoya shrieked and turned around to scream. Sun Xiaoxuan was like a thief, trying his best to make Gaoya pee. Gaoya quickly calmed down and pulled Chun Guang and Sun Xiaoxuan to a corner. These are GoPro glasses. Put them on first. I've already asked someone to modify the camera kit. It's embedded in the frame, so it won't be seen. Xiaoxuan and I have already scouted the place. Later, your exam table will be near the window and Xiaoxuan and I will be on the roof over there. The exam will be synchronized to our phones. Xiaoxuan will be in charge of answering the questions, and I'll be in charge of raising the bar. If there's 1 bar, I'll choose A. If there's 2 bars, I'll choose B, and so on. The multiple choice question is done. Gaoya lowered her voice and said in a secretive tone. No wonder the two of them were acting like thieves. They wanted to help him cheat. Especially Sun Xiaoxuan, a beautiful South American girl, was forced to become a beautiful female cat burglar. Chun Guang was not making a random analogy. Sun Xiaoxuan's face was as red as a ripe peach. It was the first time in her life that she was going to participate in such a large-scale cheating operation. She was nervous. Chun Guang took the high-tech glasses and was speechless. It was one thing for Gaoya to do such a thing, but Sun Xiaoxuan, an honest person, was also led astray. Look at how nervous she was. He asked, what about the fill-in-the-blank questions? How are we going to compete? Gaoya was stunned for a moment. Then she glared at him. You wish. The multiple-choice questions are already 60 points. What fill-in-the-blank questions are you talking about? How am I supposed to compete? Chun Guang nodded. That's true. Gaoya clapped her hands. All right then, let's get to work. I really don't know how you got so lucky that Xiaoxuan actually agreed to help you cheat. Sun Xiaoxuan's face turned even redder. This isn't Chun Guang's fault. He could have passed last semester, but because of this and that, Gaoya interrupted him. All right. I didn't say anything wrong with your man. I know. Sun Xiaoxuan rubbed her hands and said with a trembling voice. Chun Guang saw that she was so stiff that she looked like she was about to explode. She looked like a statue that was about to shatter when she moved her hands. Are you really going to help me cheat like this? Without a doubt, it was not Sun Xiaoxuan's idea to cheat. It must have been Lin Jingwei and Gaoya's idea, and then Gaoya dragged Sun Xiaoxuan here. With Sun Xiaoxuan's personality, she would never have thought of doing something like this. Sai, look at her. Forget about helping me cheat. I'll be thankful if she doesn't get a heart attack later. She even helped me with the questions. It's really hard on her. Chun Guang stuffed the glasses into Gaoya's hands and shook his head. Forget it. It's fine. I'll do it myself. How can I let the class monitor cheat for me? Gaoya stared at him. You'll do it yourself? Can you do it? Sun Xiaoxuan said worriedly. Yeah. You won't have time to study this summer, right? You basically skipped all the classes last semester. Even if you did hug the Buddha's leg before the final exams, you'll still forget about it after the summer. Chun Guang smiled confidently. Of course it's fine. I'm a genius. Really? The two of them were doubtful. However, Chun Guang had already made up his mind. He turned around and went upstairs. His heart was bleeding. The straight-A student, Sun Xiaoxuan, was helping him cheat. This kind of thing was really tempting. However, Chun Guang did not want to be a stain on Sun Xiaoxuan's life because of him. If he was caught using high-tech glasses, it would be the same as substituting for an exam. Normal students would be expelled or given a major demerit. If it were him, he might be able to pretend that nothing had happened. However, it did not feel good. It was no different from getting in through the back door without taking the exam. The most important thing was that Sun Xiaoxuan was so nervous. Her brain must be spinning. She might not even be able to solve the questions as accurately as his dice. Don't torture her. What should I do? What's wrong with him? Isn't he always so frivolous? Why does he have to be so particular about cheating? Gaia was a little unhappy. She felt that her good intentions were taken as malicious intent. Sun Xiaoxuan did not know what to say. Maybe he doesn't want to put me in a difficult position. Gaia nodded. Yeah, that's possible. Sigh, Xiaoxuan, isn't it just cheating? You weren't even this nervous when you were a hostage in the US. Sun Xiaoxuan shook his head. It's different. It's really different. I don't know what's going on. Sigh, look at you. Forget it. It's good that he's dead. You can give him another round of tutoring later. What? What else can he do? Look at him now. He's a senior, and he only has one chance next semester. How can he focus on studying? Who else can he count on? But he clearly looks very confident. He's faking it for you. You really believe him? Chen Guang did not know what people were talking about him behind his back. He was sitting by the window with a dark expression. Of course, he did not need to consider the consequences when he was bragging. But when he sat down and looked at the thick envelope in front of the invigilator, he felt dizzy. As the saying goes, a dead duck is reluctant to admit its mistake and suffer for its pride. This was generally referring to his current situation.
Sigh.
Chen Guang sighed. Even he himself did not think he could pass the exam, let alone Lin Jingwei and the rest. What was more annoying was that the invigilator knew him.
Yo.
Brother all-rounder. Chen Guang? I heard you were a student in our school. I didn't believe it. I didn't expect it to be you. Hi, teacher. Can I get your autograph after the exam? Sure, no problem. Oh, right, I won't go easy on you just because you're a famous person. You know, famous people have their own public image. I believe in your ability. I'll take care of you during the exam today. Don't let me get hold of you. I've wanted to be famous for a long time. Thank you, teacher. The whole family. He did not say the last two words. F***CK. Luckily, I didn't use the GoPro glasses. This guy is quite young. He definitely knows what he's doing. When the exam papers were handed out, he looked at the piles of formulas. His mind was completely muddled. Everything was low grade, only the passing grade was high. This was difficult to complete. Oh, right. According to the power of the 4 computers in the dormitory, how much would the electricity cost for 2 months? I might as well calculate this. He picked up the heavenly Holy Grail, which was wrapped in a new gangster rabbit mug, and took a sip of tea as he muttered in his heart. Beg me, I'll help you with the questions. At this time, looming was started to cause trouble in his mind again. Stop messing around. It's annoying. I'm not messing around. I have a super good fighter here. She's sleeping now. If you beg me, I'll wake her up. Who? Super genius scholar Nicosia Tepster. This can be done. At this moment, Chen Guang's eyes lit up. I'm begging you, my beloved sister, Lu Minghua. In front of the passing grade, integrity and whatnot, just go with the wind. 30 seconds later. I just asked her. She said you have to beg her too. I'm begging her. Sister Nicosia. Kbak. F***CK.
So fast.
She didn't even look at the exam paper. This emperor is just randomly saying, don't take it seriously. F***CK. Dear sister Lu Minghua, you really have a sense of humor. Chapter 8:27. For Nixie, this level of difficulty in modern chemistry wasn't a problem at all. After all, the Tempest family was famous for explosions and self-detonations. Although the people in this family majored in physics, their level of knowledge in chemistry wasn't bad. On the contrary, it was even higher than many people. It was just that the self-detonation family's achievements in other areas were too high, so their knowledge in chemistry was slightly overshadowed. A mere university course was just a trifle. Nixie was very unhappy. She felt that doing this kind of question was an insult to her intelligence. Furthermore, ever since he failed to kill Chen Guang, he became Chen Guang's accomplice after he self-detonated himself to kill Chen Guang. Thinking about it made her so angry. But there was nothing she could do. She had no choice but to lower her head when she was under someone else's roof. Not to mention, this wasn't just under someone else's roof. She had been dragged into some huge incident. There were two gods living in this guy's cup. As a mortal who had been dragged into this, she was trembling, all right? But this wasn't all bad news. Nixie knew that, in a sense, she might have gotten a great bargain. No matter how long a mortal's lifespan was, they would eventually die of old age. But now that she seemed to be dead, it was possible for her to obtain eternal life. This was a great opportunity. This was the light of good luck that only the protagonists in novels had. Unfortunately, from what the two goddesses had said, it seemed that everyone's lives were tied to Qin Guang. If he died, everyone would die with him. Now that she had become his accomplice, she had no choice but to help him. She had to treat him like a treasure, afraid that he would melt in her mouth, afraid that she would lose him in her hands. Just like yesterday, in that unlucky town, in order to help him complete the mission, she had no choice but to fuse herself with the equipment and then self-detonate. It was really tiring. All right, that could be considered an incredible event. After completing it, he felt a great sense of accomplishment. His understanding of divine power and dimensions had greatly deepened, and he had gained quite a lot. Although it was a little tiring, it was worth it. But today, the undying soul of the machinery hive mind, Nixie, was reduced to helping someone take a modern chemistry basic exam? This is ridiculous. But I just can't refuse. How infuriating. As for Qin Guang, in fact, Sun Xiaoxuan was cheating when he took the exam for Qin Guang. Nicole was also cheating when she took the exam for Qin Guang. There was no difference in essence. The only difference was that asking Sun Xiaoxuan for help would torture her and put her in danger. However, if Nicosia in the cup were to make a move, it would be impossible for her to see through him. The Holy Grail is mine. I am the master of this Grail. Perhaps my soul has an indescribable relationship with this Grail. In that case, can I treat the Holy Grail as a part of my body? Could the person in the cup be considered a part of the old man? Just like my fingers or toes. My fingers helped me with the exam. Does that count as cheating? Impossible. What the scholars did, what the lords of the 3,000 worlds did not count as cheating, it was necessary. Just like the ancient emperors, if they wanted to govern a country, they naturally could not do everything themselves. They had to learn to know the right people and use their millions of people and court officials to help them solve their problems. Right now, I am the emperor. Liu Li and Lu Ming are my generals and prime minister respectively. As for Nicosia, she is the old man's vanguard general. Now I will send her to help me lead the troops to behead this barbarian called Modern Chemistry 4. The most despicable people are invincible. Lord Guang displayed this 6-syllable mantra to the fullest. The invigilator did as he said. He focused on the school's current celebrity, Qin Guang, and did not give him the slightest chance. From the moment the exam papers were handed out, he had been circling around Qin Guang the whole time, as if guarding against a thief. From time to time, he would even look out of his window. If Sun Xiaoxuan and Gaoya did as they thought, they might really be caught red-handed by this dutiful invigilator. However, his view of Qin Guang quickly changed. This young man does not seem to be simple. Not only does he stir up trouble outside the school, but he also does not seem to fall behind in his studies. He actually lay on the exam paper the whole time and did not even lift his head. In addition, this guy's mental arithmetic ability is too strong. There is not a single word on the draft paper in his hand. He only glanced at the questions and then wrote down the answers. He also solved the questions so quickly that it made people's hair stand on end. He finished one question in 10 seconds. The young invigilator immediately looked at Qin Guang in a new light. He is indeed the all-rounder. I lost. Half an hour later, the time to hand in the exam paper arrived. Qin Guang stood up from his chair and hit the chin of the invigilator who had been standing next to him and watching him skim the questions at lightning speed. Teacher, I'm handing in the paper.
Huh?
You're already done? The invigilator had not recovered from his daze. He rubbed his chin. Qin Guang handed the exam paper to him. Here, you're done. The invigilator opened his eyes wide and took a closer look. Sure enough, He found that the test paper was filled with a bunch of conversion formulas. At that moment, everyone else in the exam room had already turned to look at him. The invigilator did not pester him anymore. He took the paper and left. He is indeed the all-rounder. In the huge exam room, pairs of admiring eyes looked at Chen Guang. If he was really a shameless person like Qin Hui, he would probably accept these gazes calmly. However, old Master Guang still had his pride. Brothers and sisters, this time it really wasn't my doing.
Don't worship me.
The old man felt guilty. His roar in his heart was useless. No one could hear him. Instead, they worshipped him even more because of his humble and amiable expression. This made him feel a little awkward and out of place. Forget it. Let's get out of here. He shrunk his neck and quietly left. When he went downstairs, he found Sun Xiaoxuan and Gaoye still waiting downstairs. Oh my God. Have you already given up and handed in your paper early? Gaoye didn't say anything nice when they met. Sun Xiaoxuan began to comfort him. It's okay. It's not your fault. You can just take it again next semester. But you still have 4 makeup exams after that. You have to work harder to study. I'll help you. Here's the makeup plan. Take a look. No, I've tried it. Chen Guang saw that Sun Xiaoxuan had really taken out the plan and quickly clarified. Originally, he wanted to strike while the iron was hot and practice the sense of inner strength that he had painstakingly grasped. If he really dragged Sun Xiaoxuan into some kind of revision plan, then wouldn't these past few days be a complete waste? Although studying with Sun Xiaoxuan was quite fun, the matter of the inner force martial artist was not over yet. If he didn't become stronger, what if those reckless guys came up with a plan to decapitate him? Who would he look for to reason with? After all, he was now in a high position. He was the current director of the Guangdong General Administration. He was someone who could command the country. He completely fit the criteria of the decapitation plan. To be honest, he was a little panicked. Chen Guang looked at the vague figures in the distant woods. They were probably the martial artists or secret agents sent by the general administration to protect him. There was no way to escape. But that was not enough. He didn't want to put his life in the hands of others. So he had to make himself stronger as fast as possible. He had to be strong enough that he wouldn't be afraid of threats. He had to be clear about his priorities. Past? Sun Xiaoxuan and Gaoye's eyes widened. They thought there was something wrong with their ears. Chen Guang nodded. Yes, I passed. I wasn't bluffing. But it's only been half an hour, Gaoye yelled. Sun Xiaoxuan was also puzzled. He was considered fast at answering questions, but it took him 1.5 hours to finish last semester's final exam. However, Chen Guang was still resolute. I will definitely pass it. If I fail, I'll hang myself. When he called Lin Jingwei and the other 2 out for lunch, they all looked at him as if he was a lunatic. Chen Guang slammed the table and roared. Take this. The results will be out the day after tomorrow. If you don't believe me, you can see for yourself. Why would I brag about something like this? Lin Jingwei said, Brother Xiaobai has a friend who runs a counseling agency in Wujing. Brother Guang, why don't you come with me to take a look this afternoon? You're seriously ill. You've already anesthetized yourself to this extent. Bai Fan said, I have to go take a look. I heard that some people will keep reminding themselves that the things in their fantasies are real after receiving a huge blow. This is called self-anesthesia. If you anesthetize yourself too deeply, you'll start hallucinating. It's very scary. Xiong said, I used to be like this when I was young. I recovered after getting beaten up by my dad. Sun Xiaoxuan said, Don't scare people. Chen Guang won't do this. But there's no harm in taking a look. You won't lose anything anyway. If it's someone you know, he won't mind.
Bam.
Chen Guang slammed the table heavily. Why don't you believe me? Lin Jingwei also slammed the table. Brother Guang, we don't believe you. I know most of the things you've been busy with this summer. Who would believe that you have time to read books? The rest of them nodded. Gaoye suddenly leaned over and looked at Chen Guang as if he was a thief. Tell me, how much money are you going to pay the invigilators, the teachers who set the questions and mark the papers? Chen Guang was trembling with anger. You're all frogs in a well. You don't know your place. You're insulting my character. It was no wonder he was not angry. Although it was good that these guys were the engine, they were obviously holding him back when he wanted to practice his inner force. Humph. In the past, whenever I wanted to do something, there would always be people like you who looked down on me. But now, their faces have been smashed to pieces and are hanging on my wall of honor. I had thought that with so many painful lessons laid out in front of me, no one would dare to doubt my ability anymore. But I never thought that trouble would arise from within. You people who are on my side would actually doubt me? After his outburst, Chen Guang stared at them angrily and said loudly, "Come on. The next test is on the principles of chemical engineering, right?" Sun Xiaoxuan nodded. That's right. It's the principles of chemical engineering. Obviously, she was very concerned about Chen Guang and knew his exam schedule by heart. As she spoke, she took out the Principles of Chemical Engineering textbook and revision questions from her bag and placed them on the table. She had prepared everything in advance. Gaoya rolled her eyes. Ever since this girl came back from the US, she had become more and more unrestrained.
Great.
Chen Guang grabbed the revision. Give me 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, the 5 of them looked at him as if he was a god. Yes, in these 10 minutes, he had finished the entire set of final exam questions at an incredible speed. And all of them were correct. Not a single question correct. Amazing. Amazing, my light. Brother Guang, you're amazing. You're invincible. This was from Bai Nyangzi, who had already kneeled down. How the hell did you do it? I don't believe it. I must be having a nightmare. This was from Lin Jingwei, who had begun to doubt his life. Beat me up, I'm sick again. This was from Xiong'er, who had a relapse of his old illness. Gaoya, you must have awakened your ability after being electrocuted by the magnetic storm infantry. Gaoya's perspective was a bit strange. Sun Xiaoxuan looked at Chen Guang with admiration. I knew you could do it. Chen Guang silently curled his lips. Well, now you completely believe in my ability. He had finally put on a show and shocked everyone, but deep down, he was not very happy. That's right, he had asked Nicosia to help him with the questions. Excessive posturing did indeed have repercussions, especially for someone like him who still had a conscience. The more people admired him because of this, the more upset he felt. But if he didn't do it, these annoying people would never stop. He was like a pig looking in the mirror, inside and out. He was not human. He was displeased, exceptionally displeased. He had caused his thoughts to be clouded by his own actions. Chen Guang silently looked up at the sky. Oh God! Oh Earth! It's so hard to be a human. It's even harder to be a good person. I originally wanted to be a good person with a clear conscience, but you force me to be the king of cheating who deceives the world to gain a reputation. Okay, if there's nothing else, let's go. Chen Guang waved his hand, ready to slip away. The admiring eyes of the crowd made him want to dodge. He had a guilty conscience. Wait, we calculated the credits yesterday and the day before yesterday. It seems that apart from the compulsory courses, everyone in the class has to make up another 20 credits from elective courses to successfully graduate. We've already made up most of the credits from last semester, so 2 more elective courses should be enough this semester. Brother Guang, you've basically been running the internet last year. You didn't even sign up for elective courses, and you're still short of 16 or 17 credits. What should we do? Lin Jingwei called out to him again. Chen Guang's mind spun. Indeed, Lin Jingwei had said that this matter could not be sloppy. However, he did not want to waste time on ordinary elective courses. He would still have to take exams when the time came, and it was quite annoying just thinking about it. You know my student website account, right? Help me sign up for a few courses. I've already filled up my schedule. Lin Jingwei asked, which classes should I register for? Our top student, Brother Guang. Chen Guang's face turned slightly red at being called a top student. Although his eyes were full of admiration, he felt that he was being sarcastic. I don't want to deceive the world anymore. I want to be upright. His eyes turned, and inspiration burst forth. He actually thought of a brilliant idea. Help me sign up for minor foreign languages. Yes, that's right. No matter what the other elective courses were, they would definitely not understand if they had not taken them. However, there was one thing that he was truly talented in. The school also had them, and he would be invincible no matter where he went. 4,978 languages. The others were stunned. Lin Jingwei was puzzled. Minor foreign languages? As he was puzzled, he suddenly remembered that Chen Guang had disguised himself as Chen Yu at Bai Hua's Tianjin Energy Group headquarters to help Bai Hua translate Arabic. That seemed to be the case. Lin Jingwei said tentatively, "But just one Arabic isn't enough, right?" Chen Guang waved his hand nonchalantly. "It's fine. If Arabic isn't enough, help me sign up for German, French, Italian, Portuguese, Latin, Japanese, Russian, Korean. As long as it's available in our school, sign them up for me." "Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm leaving. I'm busy." As he spoke, Chen Guang turned around and left, leaving Lin Jingwei, Sun Xiaoxuan, and the others to look at each other. After a long time, Gaoya gasped and complained, "F***ck. Is he going to sweep the foreign languages faculty? Could it be that he's interested in the girls from the foreign languages faculty?" Sun Xiaoxuan pushed her. "What nonsense are you talking about? He's not that kind of person." Chapter 8:28. Even Chen Guang himself didn't know what kind of person he was. Human nature was too complicated. If everyone could see themselves clearly, there wouldn't be so many people in this world who wanted to take medicine for regret, and everyone would be perfect. However, what Sun Xiaoxuan said was right. Chen Guang really didn't think about girls from a foreign language school at all. The reason was that he was already a clay bodhisattva crossing the river. Unknowingly, he had already owed a huge debt of love, so much that he couldn't pay it all off. Just thinking about it gave him a splitting headache. How could he have the courage to provoke more people? Being too charming didn't necessarily mean happiness. Behind happiness was happiness's troubles. In life, if one couldn't completely cut off all emotions and desires, if one wanted to live a human life, there would always be places where one couldn't control oneself. Even if Chen Guang's so-called being unable to control oneself was so enviable in the eyes of others, they would still feel that he was worse than a beast and didn't know how lucky he was. However, there was a good saying, "Only one knows whether it's hot or cold when drinking water." Bystanders would only feel envious when they saw these things, but he, who was really in the middle of it, felt endless happiness and troubles. He also blamed himself from time to time. "I clearly want to be a good person, but why do I always go crazy from time to time? When I'm normal, I'm so wise and farsighted. But why am I always controlled by the demons in my heart? Maybe it was a coincidence of fate, or maybe it was the demons pulling him, or maybe it was because he really didn't have enough self-control. He originally didn't want to be like that, but now he really had the tendency to develop in the same direction as Brother Cheng. He knew that this wasn't good, but he didn't seem to have a good way to face it. Liu Li and Lu Ming always said that as the great master of the Holy Grail, he shouldn't be so hesitant and indecisive over such a small matter. He knew that the two goddesses' words were very reasonable, but he also knew that it was easier said than done. As for the demons that would often quietly appear in his heart and control his actions and brain, Chen Guang actually understood that these were all excuses for him to shirk responsibility. This so-called demon was actually the human scent on him. To put it bluntly, he was still a mortal. They were so outstanding, and they indulged him so much. They knew that he was hiding an unsettled heart, but they were willing to get close to him without asking for anything in return. Although Lu Li and Lu Ming said that I would become a true god sooner or later, I have always been a human, and I am also a human now. I'm just a mortal. I really can't resist it. This was really difficult. Sun Xiaoxuan, for example, had become bolder and more courageous after returning from the United States. Her words were also more obvious. How could Chen Guang not be tempted? He wasn't blind, nor was he stupid. He was well aware of how good Sun Xiaoxuan was. However, he couldn't bear to seriously injure Sun Xiaoxuan. Moreover, with Sun Xiaoxuan's temperament, She wouldn't change her mind so easily even if she accepted her stubborn principles. Even if he pretended to be heartless and determined like those in the TV dramas, she might not really back down. It wasn't that easy to fool her. They hadn't just met each other today. They had been together for 3 years, so Sun Xiaoxuan knew him very well. However, he knew that he had to pay a price for being tempted. Especially last night, because he was practicing the painting scroll, he was both willing and unwilling, and took the initiative and didn't take the initiative to torment Lu Fei for an entire night. Today, when he encountered Sun Xiaoxuan's sacrifice again, if he didn't have any psychological barriers, he wouldn't be called Chen Guang. He would have to change his name to Chen Shimi. Therefore, even though he knew that he might not be able to hide from these things forever, he still had to hide for as long as he could, right? Although an ugly daughter-in-law would have to meet her in-laws sooner or later, she could at least buy some time to learn makeup, right? Of course, as a somewhat heartless person, the biggest advantage was that when faced with an almost unsolvable problem, he simply didn't think about it anymore. Luli often said to him that whether it was to seek his own fortune or that there would always be a way out when the time came, it was actually quite in line with his creed. For example, now that he had snuck home from school, the first thing he did was to focus on practicing the painting scroll. Oh right, just yesterday afternoon, the owners of the house that Lu Xiaoliang and Chen Guang were living in, as well as the house that Zhu Jingxi had rented, had come to an agreement. These 2 houses were officially under Boss Guang's name, and he just had to make a trip to the real estate bureau to settle the paperwork in 2 days. Not only did they not bargain, but they also offered almost 100,000 more. But it didn't matter. Boss Guang said that any problem that could be solved with money was basically not a problem. Now, his problem was that his mind was uneasy. He sat cross-legged on his bed, intending to calm his mind and focus, and rely on the mnemonic chant to cultivate the painting scroll in his mind. However, he couldn't calm his mind. He always pretended that there was something urgent, and it made him extremely uncomfortable. It was none other than the makeup exam. Speaking of which, it was strange that such a trifling matter like a makeup exam was really not worth mentioning to the current him. Even if they all died, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Moreover, he had Nikasi's secret help. Not only would he not die, he could even pass the exam easily. But when he thought of the admiration in the eyes of others and the fact that he had cheated at the highest level in history, even if he had used all kinds of reasons to convince himself, he still felt a knot in his heart. Humans were such strange creatures. There would always be a little bit of morbid persistence, a little bit of awkwardness. When one's heart was at a dead end, this little bit of awkwardness would become a lingering obsession, repeatedly lingering in the depths of one's heart. It was impossible to get rid of, and it would get deeper and deeper, almost becoming a nightmare. Chen Guang knew that the situation wasn't good, and he had to find a way to control it, but he just couldn't do it. He got up from his bed and dug out the chemical engineering principle exercise book that he had forced into Sun Xiaoxuan's hands before he ran away. He then opened his QQ email to see that there was also a revision PowerPoint that Sun Xiaoxuan had dug out from his teacher last semester. The exam was tomorrow afternoon. According to his previous performance, if he worked hard from now until late at night, woke up at 6 in the morning and worked until noon, he could really rely on his own ability to barely pass. Well, this really became a low grade, and only studying was high. Is there something wrong with me? I can't practice my internal force, but I'm full of energy reading these books that I know are mostly useless after graduating from college. Chen Guang complained about himself. In fact, he understood everything. Only in this way could his mind be clear. Only when his mind was clear could he do things. But time was tight, and he didn't have enough time. He really wanted to make a doppelganger for himself. One could read and revise, and the other could practice internal force.
How nice would that be?
Earth Paste Exploder. Earth Elemental Doppelganger. A clump of mud fell from his fingernails, about the size of a quarter of a grain of rice. Damn, I definitely won't admit that this is mud accumulated under my fingernails, because I didn't wash my hands for a long time. Forget it, that's it. I'll study the principles of chemical engineering by myself first, and then I'll take the Introduction to Environmental Impact Assessment exam the day after tomorrow. I'll get a beggar's version of the world in a cup custom training, so I don't need to study. Then I'll take the course in the morning the day after tomorrow. After I finish the Principles of Chemical Engineering exam tomorrow, I'll start to study. I'll study for 2 days, and then I'll use the world in a cup for the last one. In this way, the production of faith value and self-reliance just happened to be connected. Although life was a bit too full, there was no grudge in his heart, and he had a clear conscience. These days were a bit hard, but he had to live up to his own conscience. After all, he was the master of the 3,000 worlds, so he had to be the master of the world with knowledge. He couldn't be a hothead. It was a pity that the most recent world in a line of Sky Cup was the leg muscle group special training that he had enjoyed before, and the time interval was less than a month. The next world in a line of Sky Cup would have to wait about half a month. Otherwise, relying on the world in a line of Sky Cup alone, he should at least be able to integrate all the undergraduate courses together and become a real undergraduate student. Then, he wouldn't have so many strange problems. After arranging all the time plans in his mind, Chen Guang opened the book and began to study from the first chapter according to the PowerPoint that Sun Xiaoxuan sent. It was time to show the ability of the king of last-minute sharpening a spear. Who would have thought that the most popular and influential person in the country, the director of the Guangdong General Administration, would stay at home and study his university courses? There were many things that he didn't expect. On the other side, Lin Jingwei's 3 grandsons were sitting in the dormitory, and in front of the 3 of them was Chen Guang's Student Information Network account. By Nyangzi, are we really going to report all of them to him? There are relatively few compulsory courses this semester, and most of them are free time. If we report all of them to him, he can just register for 8 foreign languages. But why do I always feel like this is like science fiction? Xiong, I didn't know that our school's foreign languages department had such a crazy curriculum. What are they all about? Hindi, Slavic, Malay, Bengali. Oh my God. Lin Jingwei's brows were tightly knitted. This is a little troublesome. The languages that Brother Guang mentioned just now are considered common foreign languages. But look, German and Portuguese, and Italian and Korean all clash with his compulsory classes. What should we do? Bai Fan had a sinister smile on his face. Didn't he say that as long as it's in our school, we will report it to him? That means Malay is not a problem. If there's a time conflict for a common small language, let's just register for him a language that doesn't conflict. It's fine if it's a bit obscure. Anyway, he said it himself. Is he blaming us? You have to pay attention to his words just now and report everything to him.
Right?
Lin Jingwei nodded. It seems like that's the only way. Bai Fan humphed. I'm just asking you, what's the impact? Xiong, Brother Guang's pretentiousness is blinding me. The 3 of them had an inexplicable excitement on their faces as they began to select these minor language courses from Chen Guang's Student Information Network. Hindi, Malay, Bengali, those were all child's play. Celtic, Greek, Tocharian, and Manchu Tungusic followed. Finally, after selecting 8 foreign languages, Lin Jingwei clicked submit. He then clapped his hands and rubbed away the non-existent dust. Chapter 8:29. Xiong, pinched his nose. Wait a minute. It seems like we're being a bit cheap. We picked all the rare languages for him. Actually, Japanese, Russian, and Spanish could have been chosen? Lin Jingwei said, I don't know why, but I feel like the sun is especially bright this afternoon. Bai Fan was already lying on the bed and stretching. Yo, what a coincidence. What are you 2 doing in front of the computer? That nap I just had was really good. Lin Jingwei said, cheap. Xiong said, the asterisk starred. At this time, in school, rumors about Chen Guang were spreading like wildfire. Fortunately, these were just rumors and not gossip. Did you hear? Chen Guang really came back to school to study. That can't be. I heard on the internet that Almighty Superman is our schoolmate. I didn't believe it. Besides, he's so famous and rich now. I heard that his movie will start filming soon. There's no need for him to come back to school to study, right? Isn't studying to earn money? He's a big man now, and he's the CEO of a company. He should just happily earn money. Whether or not he has a graduation certificate doesn't affect him at all, right? What do you know? That's why he's famous and successful in his career. A truly powerful person has to do his best in everything he does. Almighty Bro is the most handsome. He's responsible for everything he does. Look at your infatuated look. Wake up, you're a boy. Oh, that's true.
Sigh.
Actually, I haven't thought it through. With his current fame, he probably doesn't need to attend classes to get his graduation certificate. I don't know what he's thinking. This was a conversation between two freshmen. At noon, I saw Brother Allrounder at the Walking Street Maisie May. He's really our senior. Why don't you ask him for an autograph? I'm scared. I'm shy. You don't say. He's even more handsome in person than on TV. Oh right, he's grown hair again. Not just his head. He's so handsome. His hairstyle is the same as Rukawa Keats. He doesn't know how to play basketball. That's because he doesn't have the mood to play. Think about it. Is there anything in this world that he doesn't know how to do? You're right. Sigh. It's just like the rumors say. There's a beautiful girl among the people who ate with him. She looked at him with eyes full of love. I don't think I have a chance.
Sigh.
This was the content of the conversation between the two freshman girls. It was the same for the others. However, it was a little strange. Although many people recognized Chen Guang from morning to noon, no one took the initiative to ask for his autograph. Perhaps it was because he had appeared in school for the first time in the new semester and that he had grown a full head of hair from his bald head. Many people were a little uncertain, thinking that they might have mistaken him for someone else. In a trance, the reservation and confusion in their hearts caused these people to miss the opportunity. Of course, there was another problem. When it came to celebrities, if they were far away, people would worship them. However, if this celebrity was in the same school as them, went to school the same way, ate the same 3 meals a day, had a nose and eyes, and didn't have 3 heads and 6 arms, he would lose that mysterious feeling. Instead, people would feel that even if they missed him today, he would be there tomorrow, anyway. He would be there for the entire semester and wasn't in a hurry to meet him. As for Jin Shuriwa and Jiang Yage's fans, they were now full of hatred for Chen Guang. However, they had no choice. He was no longer a nobody that could be bullied by others. It was fun to run to him and act cool, but they were afraid that he would bear a grudge against them. He could consign them to eternal damnation with just a flick of his finger. Chen Guang was no longer the ignorant person he was in the past. It was said that Zhuo Wei, who had come to pick a fight with him, was now in prison. He didn't know if prison food was good or not. Even if he was a fan, he would have to weigh his own worth. Not everyone was as stubborn as Chen Guang. For many people, power was enough to make them bow their heads. For even more people, power was enough to make them retreat. Therefore, due to various reasons mentioned above, although everyone in school knew that Chen Guang was back and everyone was talking about him, at least he wasn't disturbed today. However, there might be a wave of autographs in a few days. This peaceful discussion was accompanied by a post on the Azure Starry Sky Forum, which was also Gokyo University's internal forum. It instantly exploded on the spot. A sudden clap of thunder broke the peace of the campus. Is it sensationalism or some ulterior motive? It was the most insane elective registration form in history. Regarding Chen Guang's elective course, 8 minor languages. Yuan Fong, what do you think? Mom said that the title should be long enough to attract attention. In this post, an insider took a screenshot of the registration form from the School of Foreign Languages. In this screenshot, it clearly showed the name list of students from other schools who had signed up for elective courses in the School of Foreign Languages this semester. From student number to name, from year of enrollment to original school, everything was there. It was obviously the internal information of the School of Foreign Languages. In this not long list, there was a person's name that stood out. It was not only because his name was Chen Guang, but also because his name and student number appeared in the list of 8 minor foreign languages. Although the first half of his student number and his original class were mosaic, the last 3 digits of his student number were exactly the same. It clearly told all the onlookers that these 8 Chen Guangs were none other than the almighty Superman, the #1 online celebrity in Huaxia, produced and marketed by Gokyo University. The person who made this post was most likely a boy from the School of Foreign Languages. There was an old saying, "Don't let fertile water flow to outsiders." But now, Chen Guang wanted to throw a high-powered water pump into the pond of the School of Foreign Languages. This was intolerable. This guy was young and rich. He had money and power. The key was that he was really capable. His looks, well, it did not matter if he was handsome or not. Anyway, even Jean Shirue was chasing after him. There must be a reason. This showed that this guy was really scary. So, this matter had to be exposed and let people talk about it. He had to make people think that he had bad intentions. He had to unite all the boys in the School of Foreign Languages to boycott this guy. What a joke. 8 minor foreign languages, and all of them were very rare. Even if it was just basic knowledge training, it was not something that could be easily fooled. No one would believe that he had no ulterior motives when he signed up for the courses like this. In this world, there were people who knew dozens of foreign languages. Although it was rare, language experts who specialized in foreign languages or some geniuses who were talented in languages could do it.
But
It could not be you. Otherwise, the heavens would be too unfair. Besides, you were always messing around. Where did you get the energy to learn 8 foreign languages? I did not study much. Don't lie to me. What's more, I studied a lot. Now I was admitted to a university. This person's literary talent was not good. In the post he wrote, although he tried his best to exaggerate and write it as a crusade against Chen Guang, he did not write it in that way. However, this was not important. Everyone had their own judgment. He only needed to lay this matter out in front of everyone. The whole school was suddenly in an uproar. A celebrity stirred up trouble, and it was big trouble. Looking at the whole school history, no, even looking at the whole country, no one had ever signed up for 8 minor foreign languages as elective courses at one time. Either he signed up for fun, or he really signed up for the girls in the School of Foreign Languages. This was really shameful. Or he really planned to use these minor foreign languages to earn credits. He planned to make sure that he did not fail the courses to earn credits. This was even more unforgivable. As for whether or not he really planned to learn these 8 minor languages well, no one dared to even think about it. Not to mention that everyone knew that he had to shoot women this semester. It was hard to say what other things he had to do. Even if he really put aside the things outside the school and stayed in the school wholeheartedly to read the books of sages, it was impossible for him to learn 8 foreign languages in a semester. If Chen Guang was just an ordinary student, this matter would probably be seen as a joke, and everyone would laugh it off. Maybe after he failed all the courses at the end of the semester, he would become a laughingstock again. However, he's different. He's Chen Guang, the hottest internet celebrity in China. He's also a top-tier content provider that has refreshed the viewership ratings multiple times. Not long ago, he even appeared on the news. He's the aviation hero that turned the tide, and he's also a top-tier player. During this period, all kinds of advertisements he had shot were all over the internet. Even when he took a taxi and opened the online app, you could see this guy's smiling face. My name is Chen Guang. I'm Almighty Superman. I'm waiting for you on the internet. So, up until now, although he was not like other celebrities who were either singing, acting, or appearing on variety shows in terms of fame, he was at least at the top of the country's B-list, an entertainment star who was close to the A-list. Therefore, it did not matter how badly the post was written. As soon as it was posted, it quickly flooded the azure starry sky. The number of clicks and replies to the post kept increasing. Even many people who did not usually go to the school forum went to take a look out of curiosity. Those who had some thoughts left a comment and expressed their views. Sofa. I despise the person who only typed the word sofa snatch. The person who posted this is hiding his head but showing his tail. Even the account is a newly registered alternate account. The list he posted is also the school's internal list. He is vicious. Shifty eyes. Shameful. Anyway, no matter how you look at it, every time Almighty Bro did something in the past, many people thought he could not do it. But in the end, he did it. In the past, I did not know he was our schoolmate. I admired him a lot. As for now, I don't think it's a big deal. Chen Guang was quite famous now. There were many people who disliked him, but there were also many fans. On the 4th floor, there was someone who spoke up for him. Of course, not all of them were good words. Chapter 830. Learning a foreign language is not the same as playing the piano, driving, shooting Dota, or throwing darts. You have to memorize it and master it. Besides, what were the 8 languages he had chosen? Tocharian, Tungusic, what the hell were they? Many of them are from different language families. You should at least report something close to them. Anyway, I think he's just joking. There must be something fishy about this. I took Malay as an elective this semester. I'm in the same class as him. Okay, I'll stop talking. I'm going to do my makeup. She looked like a cute girl at first glance. The Greek elective was just passing by. I have the same opinion as the one above. Let me put on some makeup to calm myself. By the way, does anyone want to play a small language speed pushing game with a Dota? My team ID is... This was another cute girl, a cute girl who played with Dota. It seemed that she was Chun Guang's hardcore fan. As a teacher of a small language, I'm very happy to see a celebrity student taking my course. I hope more people will take Celtic, as our country really needs this kind of small language translation talent. In addition, although I'm not an old pedant, I can clearly tell everyone here that I don't have a back door here. Even if it's Chun Guang, don't even think about getting away with it. I will treat everyone equally. Looking at the ID verification information of this reply, it was really a female teacher from the foreign language school. Unexpectedly, even a teacher was attracted. The teacher's personal reply verified the authenticity of this news. Teacher Lin, I have something to say, but I don't know if I should say it. Someone immediately replied to this young and beautiful female teacher. Teacher Lin replied, Nothing, please go ahead. Teacher Lin, how do you go to the toilet without a back door? Teacher Lin, who was less than 30 years old, suddenly flushed with anger. Student, what's your student number? Come and talk to me about life. That. Just kidding, just kidding. Teacher Lin, don't be angry. Teacher Tang, who was sitting opposite Teacher Lin's desk and teaching Hindi, was sweating profusely. Looking at Teacher Lin's flushed face and gritted teeth, he secretly rejoiced that he had opened a Smurf account. Otherwise, he would be dead. The cute female students and beautiful teachers of the School of Foreign Languages all knew about this, and the 2 girls were so unreserved. You've gone too far. You're clearly rubbing salt in the wounds of us bachelors. Where are you going to put us single men who are waiting to be fed? You guys clearly know that Jin Shirue is chasing after him, yet you still act like this. Could it be that this was really a sad era, where the winner takes all, and the loser has to rely on masturbation? At this moment, the boys in the school were even more furious. Apart from Chun Guang's fans, the other students were all hating him. Why the F*** king pretentious light. Shameless and omnipotent. Stealing my woman. You ruined my youth. You ruined my life. Although I admire him very much because of DL199333, I can't stand it anymore this time. An angry male student majoring in Arabic strongly demands that Chun Guang be banned from taking the elective courses of the School of Foreign Languages. That's right, he's simply joking. He's humiliating us students majoring in minor languages. If he must be allowed to enroll in these elective courses, then I demand that the final exam papers be publicly marked. Make the results public. Boycott under-the-table manipulation. You want us to lose convincingly. The holy land of the school cannot be tarnished. Don't bring the things outside into the school. This is also what he has done before. I want a clean campus. Don't be a fly for personal gain. In this way, in less than 2 hours, the click rate of this post had exceeded 20,000, and the number of replies had shot up to 2,000, and it was still rising at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was important to note that the entire Wujing University had about 50 to 60,000 students. The Azure Starry Skies click-through rate was calculated every 6 hours for every IP address. 20,000 click-throughs meant that at least 10,000 people in the university had seen the news, and more than 1,000 people had posted and discussed it. Among these replies, about 20 to 30 were from the girls of the School of Foreign Languages expressing their welcome to Chun Guang. Of course, not every girl was so polite. There were also some girls who clearly expressed their disgust, thinking that Chun Guang didn't know what to do now that he was famous, and that he was arrogant, and looked down on others. What did these girls think Chun Guang thought of them as? Did he think that he could cast his net wide and catch a big fish just because he had money and some ability? Did he think that we would definitely throw ourselves at him just because he came? He should at least strike up a conversation with me before I would consider pursuing you. Don't think that I will take the initiative to attack you. Humph. There were also about 100 comments from the boys of the School of Foreign Languages, expressing their protest. About a dozen or so comments were from young teachers who were good at messing around in the forum, expressing their opinions on this matter. None of the teachers really thought that Chunguang was here to learn anything. Without exception, these teachers all expressed that they would definitely not do anything shady. If Chunguang really came, he would definitely be treated the same as the other students. At that time, we welcome everyone to supervise, and we will definitely give everyone a satisfactory explanation. As for the other 1,000 or so replies, about half of them were from onlookers, expressing their desire to watch the fun, and a quarter of them expressed their strong resistance, and a quarter of them were Chunguang's fans, who believed that this time, just like in the past, he would make all those who doubted him shut up. In a sense, Gokyo University could already be regarded as the home base of the internet celebrity all-rounder brother. Almost half of the people on the forum were his fans, and no matter how bad it was, they were still biased towards him psychologically. If it were outside the school or somewhere else, the ratio of fans to haters would at most be 1 to 10. Looking at the already noisy Azure Star forum, the initiators, Lin Jingwei and the other two, were completely dumbfounded. They didn't expect that registering him for an elective course would cause such a big fuss. The guy who revealed the secret was really wicked, worrying about nothing. Although Brother Guang wasn't a decent person, he didn't even have the luck to enjoy the current resources. How could he have any designs on the girls of the School of Foreign Languages? We wouldn't believe it even if you told us. Forget it, since things had already come to this. It didn't seem to be of any use cursing the informant in their hearts. In short, when this guy found out, wouldn't he fly into a rage and hang us on a tree to dry? Tonight's moon is really round. Lin Jingwei leaned against the dormitory window and looked up at the dark sky. The sky in Wujing almost never saw the moon all year round. Bai Nyangzi's hands were furiously typing on the keyboard, writing his toxic text for women. He subconsciously said, I wonder what Brother Guang is doing at this time? Xiong, on the other hand, was fighting with someone on the school forum. Without thinking, he said, Brother Guang? Who's that? It sounds familiar. Do we know each other? Lin Jingwei and Bai Nyangzi silently gave him a thumbs up. Xiong's comprehension ability was getting better and better recently. The Brother Guang that the three of them were talking about didn't know what was going on in the school forum. He was now swimming in the sea of knowledge of principles of chemical engineering. In order to avoid being disturbed, he didn't log on to QQ, and he even turned off his phone. After 3 years of last-minute training, he had a wealth of experience in pre-war mobilization. He understood that if he didn't want to fail the exam, he must bring out 200% of his state the day before the exam. Maybe it was because he often learned skills in the world of cups and realized the philosophy of life, or maybe it was because he had lived in the world of cups for too long, or maybe it was because he had mastered the world-class acting skills through the world of acting. He had anesthetized himself into a genius with high IQ in the movies. Today, he was particularly efficient in reading, and his memory was slightly better than before. Although he didn't have a photographic memory, at least his learning ability was much better than when he was in the 3rd year of high school before the college entrance examination. He flipped the pages of the book, and the PowerPoint slides in front of the computer were flying page after page. If he could still study as efficiently as he did in the past, it would not be a problem for him to become the provincial top scorer. He originally planned to go to bed when he was tired, but he didn't expect that the sky would turn dark and then bright. In the blink of an eye, the sun shone through the window and scattered on the desk. His blood was still boiling, but his stomach was growling. He looked up and saw the sun slowly rising in the distance. Only then did Chunguang recover from his shock. He had actually been reading since yesterday afternoon until now. How come I don't feel tired at all? Am I superhuman? He stood up and felt the rolling heat in his lower abdomen. Then he suddenly realized what was going on. So that was how it was. He was completely immersed in reading and doing questions, and the little mouse formed by the inner strength of the painting volume was actually swimming around in his body. Immersing oneself in something without distractions, in a sense, was in line with the importance of martial arts practitioners to get rid of distracting thoughts. It was just like the meditation of martial arts practitioners. The principle was different, but the same. However, ordinary martial arts practitioners, including Wunwun, needed to meditate in seclusion during the early stages of practicing inner strength because their meridians were closed and the channels were narrow. They needed to let the qi flow through their meridians bit by bit, widen their meridians, and strengthen their qi. However, every inch of Chen Guang's body had been trained by the heavenly holy grail in the world in the cup, and had completely surpassed the limits of human body genetic evolution. Now, his root bone could be said to be the best in history. The meridians in his body were naturally wide and did not need to be expanded. Therefore, even if he was not meditating and was just sitting on the stool, that wisp of qi would move on its own because of his meditation. Then, it could not be stopped and ran on the broad road. This was the real reason why others said that his root bone was nature-defying. It was not that he was not hungry at all. It was just that the qi of inner strength galloped through his meridians for the first time, bringing him an unprecedented sense of fullness and numbing his hunger and fatigue. Of course, martial arts practitioners with inner strength did indeed have a stronger ability to resist fatigue and hunger. Other than that, although Chen Guang's body did not look overly strong, his strength and stamina far exceeded the level that his body size showed. Just like the day before yesterday in the punishment realm, when he flew from the 5 capitals to Wutua town, and then turned the tide in Wutua town, he almost did not sleep in between. He had endured it all, and did not feel any discomfort afterwards. Now that he had become a noble inner force practitioner, not sleeping for one night was a small problem for him. Chapter 8:31. After understanding this, he calmed down and went downstairs to the breakfast shop. He ordered 12 steamed buns and 3 bowls of porridge, then turned on his phone with a calm face. As soon as he turned on his phone, it exploded. "Brother Guang, I was wrong. I was wrong +1. There was a little accident, but we believe that Brother Guang can handle it. Recently, my dad asked me to go back to the Northeast. My third aunt's nephew is getting married, and he asked me to go back and be the best man." The above 3 messages were sent by the third grandson of his dorm, and it was obviously not a good thing. "Chen Guang, don't worry about what's happening on the internet. Study hard for the makeup exam. Everything else can wait until the makeup exam is over." This was sent by Sun Xiaoxuan. Chen Guang's face was full of confusion. What the hell happened? Why did it seem like the end of the world? He wanted to call Lin Jingwei to ask about the situation, but then he thought better of it. He still had to go back and study after eating. Therefore, he ignored everyone and simply switched to airplane mode. He minded his own business as he ate and read offline novels to refresh his mind. After dinner, he went back to his room to live his isolated life. In order to prepare for the principles of chemical engineering, he didn't spend much time sharpening the knife, which was only about 20 hours. He had to race against time and strive to get the best result even if he didn't finish sharpening the knife. As for the next introduction to environmental impact assessment, it was easy. Before the exam, he would hold the textbook in his hand, drink some water, and then enter the cup world for a special training session. That was it. As for Nicosia, you don't want to help me, but I don't want you to help me. The old man is upright and upright. How can I let my reputation be ruined in your hands? Even if no one else knows about this, I can't let it be me. The taste of deceiving the world, even if it was only once in a while, would feel uncomfortable all over. It was not something that could be solved by a barbecue. Chen Guang, who was immersed in the sea of books, didn't know that the outside world was probably in chaos because of him. Around noon, the number of clicks on the main thread posted on the Azure Starry Sky forum had officially exceeded 100,000, and the number of replies had even reached 10,000. Ever since the establishment of Azure Starry Sky, this campus BBS, there had never been a thread with more than 10,000 replies. The last thread that was close to this number was related to him. It was the main thread that reported the incident between Wang Ren and Su Lijing during the summer vacation. Although the entire school was on summer vacation, they still discussed it for a few days. In the end, the number of replies stopped at around 5,000, which was nothing compared to this one, which broke through 10,000 in a day. As time went on, more and more students joined the ranks of criticizing him, and gradually, his original fans couldn't take it anymore. After all, although the previous Chen Guang had many achievements in many aspects, other than the Dota, there really weren't many other aspects that required him to test his IQ and brain. He might be able to touch the piano a little, but when it came to music, it was actually more about the sense of music and music theory. So far, he had never shown any ability in composing music. If it was just a rote performance, it was more about practice makes perfect. Perhaps his acting skills were not bad, but so far, he had only made a brief appearance in Tears Will End for Rivers and Mountains. Other than that, he had only appeared in some commercials, which were not very convincing. The advertising circle in Yanjing knew of his great achievement of filming 12 companies' commercials in one afternoon, and it was a much-talked-about story. However, ordinary people didn't know about these secrets. Therefore, gradually, even Chen Guang's die-hard fans were convinced by others. It seemed like a fantasy to learn 8 small foreign languages in one semester. Among the 10,000 replies, more than 60% of the people who felt that he was playing to the gallery or had ulterior motives gradually felt like he was challenging 8 small foreign languages at once. Among the tens of thousands of replies, more than 60% of the people who felt that he was playing to the gallery or had ulterior motives. As for those die-hard fans of Chen Guang, they had no choice but to leave a comment. Let's just wait and see when the final exam is over. If Chen Guang can really pass 8 foreign languages, I will live broadcast eating sh*t. 1. 5 kilograms. The person who posted the thread, as the original poster, gave the keynote of the thread on the 10,888th comment with a hammer blow. Yes, but I think we should boycott him even more. He is simply wasting the teaching resources of our school. Thousands of people wrote a letter of blood to cancel Chen Guang's qualification to apply for elective courses in the School of Foreign Languages. Everyone was a little excited. However, they all knew that in the school's rules and regulations, there seemed to be no clear rule on this kind of thing. In a sense, although it was not reasonable for him to apply for elective courses, it seemed to be reasonable. Up until now, no school leaders had come out to make a statement, which meant that the school had already thought of a way to deal with this matter, so it was impossible for Chen Guang to be disqualified from taking elective courses. The so-called letter of blood from tens of thousands of people was impossible. At most, only about 1,000 boys in the School of Foreign Languages would jump up and down, but it was useless. But these keyboard warriors, although they were boycotting Chen Guang on the internet now, if Chen Guang sat in the classroom with his backpack, no one would dare to clamor in front of him. Just like Xiaozong, who is scolded and cursed on the internet every day, didn't he live a good life? In the afternoon, walking in the school with his backpack, Chen Guang found that people were pointing at him everywhere, which made him feel quite uncomfortable. Here it comes. This trash is really shameless. Yes, he is thinking about what is in the pot while eating from the bowl. Applying for so many courses. Most likely he wants to catch all the girls in the School of Foreign Languages in one fell swoop. He is crazy. Public morals are degenerating day by day. Public morals are not what they used to be. Chen Guang was infuriated by the 2 jerks who were whispering, pointing, and sneaking glances at him. He shouted, "You two, what are you talking about? Oh my God! Did he hear that? Why are his ears so sharp? Run, run." The 2 of them did not dare to look back and ran away with their necks tucked in.
Chen Guang looked at the time.
There were only 10 minutes left before the exam started at 2 o'clock. He glared at them indignantly, but did not chase after them. When he reached the first classroom building, he ran into Sun Xiaoxuan and Gaoya. As soon as the 3 of them saw each other, he asked, "Class President Sun, I saw all of you texting me this morning. When I entered the school, these people looked at me strangely. Other than a few people who asked for my autograph, the others were either talking about me behind my back or looking like they wanted to eat me, but felt that they could not beat me. What's going on?" "Hey, you still don't know?" Gaoya opened her mouth to speak, but Sun Xiaoxuan pressed her down and said to Chen Guang, It's okay. It's not a big deal. You go up and take your exam first. I'll tell you when you're done. She did not want to affect Chen Guang's upcoming exam, so she planned to keep it a secret for a while. Chen Guang did not want to rely on Nicosia today. He wanted to make a living on his own, and he did not want to have any distracting thoughts at this time. He turned around and went upstairs. As for the strange looks he received when he went upstairs, he did not care. This was probably the problem of being famous. Anyway, it would not hurt him to let people look at him. Chen Guang did not know that at this time, what happened in the school had been exposed on the internet. He was now very famous, and news about him was a hot topic. Moreover, almost all the news about him had been positive, and there was almost no negative news. First of all, he did not have many black marks. Even if there were some black marks that Zhuo Wei had exposed, they were all easily resolved by his own self-destruction. Second of all, like other celebrities, when they really could not find any black marks, some news media or marketing accounts would from time to time come up with fake black marks to attract attention. Anyway, it was just beating around the bush and making insinuations. These celebrities who had been defamed could not even find a target to sue even if they wanted to. But Chen Guang was different. It was not that no one wanted to mess with him, but that the people who messed with him were now in big trouble. He was the main character in all kinds of positive publicity on news broadcast and 30 Minutes news. God knows how powerful his background was. Fabricating fake news about him could lead to a mysterious organization knocking on his door at any time. But this time was different. The evidence was conclusive, and it was the truth. There was no doubt about it. We were just following the principles of a journalist and truthfully reporting the public deeds of some celebrities. We were not trying to discredit anyone. We were just taking this matter out and adding our own comments. As for whether it was black marks or positive publicity, the netizens had their own set of standards to judge. All-round scholar? All-round Superman, Chen Guang, uses 8 foreign languages in a row. Conceited genius, on the university career of an all-round Superman, exceptional celebrity studies, phenomenal genius in modern education? How difficult is it to learn 8 small languages? These articles appeared one after another on the major online media in the country at lightning speed. Although these people said that they were just reporting the truth, it was impossible not to add their own personal goods in it. If they did not write more explosive headlines and content, how could they attract enough attention in this era of explosive inquiries? How could they gain a foothold? Especially compared to other celebrities who continued their studies in school, Chen Guang was really too high profile. For example, some athletes, even if they were students, actually did not attend many classes in a semester. Occasionally, they would appear on campus with a bunch of cameras following behind them. It was not wrong to say that they were there to study, but in fact, they were there to do publicity. As for the exams, they were even more secretive. Otherwise, they would blatantly set all kinds of private questions, leak all kinds of questions, and loose marking. The final exam results were even more secretive. Finally, when it was time to graduate, they would smoothly take out their graduation certificate and put on their bachelor's uniform or master's uniform. Both the school and the celebrity would be famous, and everyone would be happy. For example, Chen Guang, who suddenly entered the school normally and caused such a sensation when he signed up for an elective course, was probably the only one in the past 10 to 20 years. Therefore, during the afternoon when he was working on the Principles of Chemical Engineering test paper, the limelight on the internet suddenly exploded. Almost every news related to him had thousands of comments. Recently, Tianguang Agency, who had been working with the movie Women and the advertising endorsements of the 12 companies, was shocked and unprepared. When Lu Xiaoliang was the first to receive the report, the situation on the internet had already gone out of control. He briefly browsed through the major media, and his face was completely black. Damn it, they were basically all haters and haters. My boss Chen, you really know how to cause trouble. Chapter 8:32. On the other side, in the makeup exam room, the others and the invigilator were also very restless, casting their gazes towards old Master Guang's head. Chen Guang indicated that his emotions were stable. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a handsome pan before? Look again? I'll eat you up if you keep looking. Guys have anus. Girls have anus too. But forget it, the makeup exam room was basically filled with guys. Their taste was a little too heavy. When the invigilator was handing out the papers, Dear Song's voice rang out in his mind again, using a demonic tone to tempt him. Sir, don't you want one? The best substitute examiner in history? It's free, it's guaranteed, and you definitely won't screw up. Chen Guang rejected Dear Song's temptation righteously. Thank you. I appreciate your good intentions. The old man has dominated the exam for 15 years. What kind of situation has he not seen? What happened yesterday was just an accident. I came prepared today. I'm especially upright today. Really? Really? Then it's a deal. If you realize later that you can't handle it halfway, I won't help you look for Nakaxi anymore. Chen Guang nodded. Of course, since I said it, I have to do it. With that, Chen Guang ignored Dear Song, focusing all his attention on the papers in front of him. Seeing that he was being stubborn, Dear Song didn't try to persuade him anymore, instead thinking to himself, although this guy had already become immortal, and because he was born in a family that was considered ordinary among mortals, causing his current personality to be especially commoner, that inexplicable determination in his heart didn't seem to be any different from before. No wonder Sister Liuli was so determined to accompany him in his madness. Chen Guang, oh Chen Guang, when exactly will you be able to truly control this heavenly holy grail and release Sister Liuli and me? Although I know that day may be very far away, I'm really anxious and looking forward to it. 2 hours later, Chen Guang didn't hand in his papers early this time, instead handing them in together with the others. He only wrote down the final answer at the very last moment before the exam ended. He stood up and subconsciously wanted to wipe his sweat, but he found that his forehead was still dry and his stomach was still burning. He had forgotten that because he was too focused, he didn't have time to let the chi sense of the painting scroll circulate on its own. In this state, he wouldn't sweat because he was using his brain too much. Speaking of which, he should give Wenwen a call and ask her if she was like him when she cultivated the painting scroll. In addition, according to the records in the painting volume, it seemed that one had to practice until the meridians of the whole body were completely connected. Then, with a little force, the whole body's tendons and meridians would move together with the internal strength. This would allow martial artists to have a strength that exceeded the endurance of their muscles and bones. When they were attacked and injured by others, they would be able to circulate their internal strength through the meridians to the place where they were hit, which would provide a certain degree of protection. This kind of martial artist was considered a master of muscle strength, just like the two people Chen Guang had met in Yanjing Xishan town. This kind of internal strength martial artist was much stronger than ordinary people, but the upper limit of their own strength was relatively low. After all, the upper limit of the endurance of their muscles, bones, and skin was not high, and their internal strength was not strong either. In his current situation, his physical body was perfect from the beginning, and his meridians were naturally well connected. In ancient times, it would be called opening the conception and governing vessels at birth. In that case, what kind of level would his current situation be at? He was quite at a loss about this, but in any case, the inner strength in his body was growing stronger day by day. He knew that he was becoming stronger at an extremely fast speed, and that was enough. When he handed in his paper and went downstairs, the other people he met had the same reaction as before. However, he would soon be able to understand the situation from Sun Xiaoxuan. He didn't want to waste his breath on these guys who liked to gossip, so he went downstairs with his head down. It turned out that Sun Xiaoxuan and Gaoya weren't the only ones waiting for him downstairs. Lin Jingwei and the other two were there as well. Looking at their evasive eyes, Chen Guang knew that the inexplicable situation he was in today must have something to do with their apology to him. Walking with them to a corner downstairs, Chen Guang put his hands behind his back, pursed his lips, and looked at Lin Jingwei with a fake smile. Tell me, little Lin, what's going on? Lin Jingwei smiled apologetically, not in a hurry to answer him. Instead, he put his phone in front of him. On the screen was the invincible post on Azure Starry Sky, which had more than 13,000 replies. When Chen Guang received it and took a look, he was speechless. What kind of language did you enroll me in? Didn't I give you German and Italian? Lin Jingwei argued. Don't you have some compulsory classes? There's a conflict. Bai Fan, who was next to him, immediately sold him out. Actually, not all of the slightly more common languages conflict with each other. Japanese, Russian, and Spanish can all be chosen. Lin Jingwei glared at Bai Fan angrily. **CK. Didn't we agree to be united? Xiong, who was next to him, also came over and stood next to Bai Fan. Together with Bai Fan, he smiled sinisterly. The two of us are united. Brother Guang, listen to me. Little Lin was the one who clicked the mouse. We couldn't even stop him at that time. Lin Jingwei's mouth was wide open. He was so angry at these two scumbags that he almost fainted on the spot. He was indeed the one who was clicking the mouse at that time, but how could these two stop him? At that time, they were clearly immersed in the pleasure of tricking Brother Guang and couldn't extricate themselves. Chun Guang rubbed his fingers and turned to stare at Lin Jingwei. Lin Jingwei took a few steps back. Brother Guang, listen to me. Eat my 1,000 years of killing.
Oh.
If it weren't for Gaoya, and Chun Guang had to save him some face, he would have been dried up on a tree. Chun Guang scanned the post briefly. After reading it, he was fuming with anger. **CK. If the old man hadn't passed the special training in one-line Sky Language Master's Cup and mastered all the languages in the world, even if Little Lin had enrolled him in a non-mainstream course, he would still be able to handle it. Otherwise, he would have become one of the haters in this post. He would either rely on underhanded means to get credits, or he would go after the girls in the Foreign Language Institute. These insults were really unpleasant to hear. Aren't you afraid of being slapped in the face? What kind of person do you think I am? This Manchurian, Tungusic, Celtic, and Tocharian language was a piece of cake, alright? Luckily, the school doesn't have a minority language like Buramulu. Otherwise, I would have made you frogs at the bottom of the well kneel on the ground and sing Conquered. Forget it. I thought it was a big deal. It's just a small problem. Let them do whatever they want. They won't cause much trouble. They'll settle down after a while, and they'll be fine by the time the final exams come. Chun Guang forced himself to calm down. He flipped through the post as he spoke. Sun Xiaoxuan asked tentatively, "But how are you going to pass the exams?" Chun Guang shrugged. "I'll just take the exams. It doesn't matter. I told you, as long as it's a Foreign Language Institute course, I'll apply for it. Although the courses I'm applying for now are a bit harsh, there's no difference in essence." He was being polite. He didn't even say that he could apply for any foreign language on earth. Lin Jingwei, Sun Xiaoxuan, and the others had their mouths wide open. They were so shocked by his inexplicable self-confidence that they began to doubt their lives. Thinking back to yesterday's lunchtime performance, could it be that this time he also had real skills and wasn't bracing himself to brag? As the saying goes, a scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at in a different light. Brother Guang, it's not enough for us to look at you in a different light after this summer vacation. We'll have to blind our eyes to look at you. After reading most of the posts, Chun Guang didn't want to continue to be annoyed. The most annoying thing about keyboard warriors was that they would criticize you on the internet. You hated them to the core, but they just had to hide on the other side of the internet cable. You couldn't find them, and there was no way to crawl over the internet cable to attack them. If you really wanted to fight, they would just hide underground. So, since there was no way to let those haters see the power of his fists, it was better to just ignore them. He threw his phone at Lin Jingwei. "Forget it. Let's go for lunch. I still have to read later." Lin Jingwei raised his hand to catch it, but his fingers slipped. He could only touch the phone with his fingertips. Then the phone bounced off his hand and fell into Yuanming Lake. Lin Jingwei exclaimed, "What the F***CK?" Chun Guang shrugged. "Are you blaming me? Do you need me to go down and pick it up for you? The fee is 5,000 yuan, no bargaining." Lin Jingwei hesitated for 10 seconds, then shook his head helplessly. "Forget it. I'll go buy the rice mix." "Why don't you use it?" "My family doesn't allow me to use it. You know." "All right then." Chun Guang curled his lips. If the impact of this matter was limited to the school, perhaps Chun Guang would really treat it as nothing and laugh it off. Before they reached the dormitory, Dong Xuebing received a call from Tianguang Agency. It was his publicity and public relations manager, Lu Xiaoliang. Chun Guang picked up the call. "Report to the higher-ups if there's anything." Dismiss if there's nothing else. Lu Xiaoyang screamed. Boss, this is not the time to be joking. It blew up. It blew up. D*MN. Don't be so flustered. What blew up? Lu Xiaoyang continued to scream. It all blew up. Chen Guang's face turned black. Explain it to me in 3 sentences, or I will blow you up. Lu Xiaoyang finally calmed down. He swallowed his saliva and tried to organize his words before saying, "The news of you taking 8 minor languages as elective courses has been posted online. This is the first sentence. At least 80% of the mainstream online media have written articles about it. This is the second sentence. Most of them are about you. The rest of the replies are also about you." Hearing those words, Chen Guang's vision darkened. He had unknowingly created a huge issue for someone. Chapter 833. Is there anyone behind this? Have you found any evidence? Lu Xiaoyang swallowed his saliva. My years as a top paparazzi were not in vain. My summarizing ability is not just for show. Coming up with a conclusion in 3 sentences, my boss is becoming more and more like a boss. I have been investigating for the whole afternoon, and I have not found any evidence. The company is already having a meeting to discuss this. We have also contacted many friends from the media and the public relations world. Everyone agreed that it might be because of your recent fame and positive reports. Whether it is the netizens or the media, there is a hidden strong demand for negative reports about you. In professional terms, it is called the troll effect. What kind of professional term is that? It means that too many people are saying good things about you, and everyone wants to see you embarrass yourself. What a retard. Yes, it is. But the public opinion on the internet has already taken shape. We can ask some friends in the media to help us delete the articles, but it is like trying to put out a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. I am afraid you have to do it yourself and look for the elders above you. Chen Guang only thought for 3 seconds and rejected Lu Xiaoyang's suggestion. The internal force martial artist issue was not over yet, and the elders still wanted him to attract the attention of the public. Otherwise, they would have informed him long ago. If he was praised for his good deeds, it would be public opinion. In the eyes of the elders, it does not matter if it is good or bad, as long as there is popularity. It is a good thing. Things had already come to this, and they did not take the initiative to do anything. They must not want to interfere. Aside from that, Chen Guang also had a feeling that the old men might be conniving today. Otherwise, they wouldn't have caused such a huge commotion in just half a day, which even Lu Xiaoyang was terrified of. They might have turned a blind eye to it and wanted to test his ability as the chief of the Guangdong General Bureau. They want me to handle it myself. That's right. That must be it. 3. Bullsh, *T. Ha 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 ha, old Jiang. You deserve this. Ha ha ha. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Old Chow, you did not expect this, did you?
Mine. They are all mine.
In a certain courtyard in Yanjin, the old men who had been speculated by Chen Guang were fighting each other. He was really thinking too much. Although the elders had planned to help him establish a positive image before, now that he was in power, the elders were not his personal nannies. It was impossible for them to ask about everything he did. Although this kind of thing was very popular on the internet, in the eyes of the elders, it was still a trivial matter that could not be brought to the table. They only paid attention to the big things and occasionally asked about the small things. Chen Guang himself was already a vice-ministerial level official. It didn't matter if he used forceful methods or let time dilute the impact. It was his own decision. You guys go eat. I have to go to the company. Chen Guang didn't have any good ideas, so he decided to go to the company. As he drove, he deliberated in his mind. He was the brand of Tianguang Agency. If his reputation was ruined because of this trivial matter, the box office of women, which Tianguang Agency had invested a lot in, might be affected. Moreover, if his brand was ruined, the development of the company would be affected, and all the staff in Tianguang Agency would worry about him for no reason. That was his money, which was not to be taken lightly. In fact, he was quite surprised that things had turned out this way. The media should have some understanding of his ability to control public opinion. It was impossible for those people to confront him directly. Maybe what Buttface and LV Xiaoyang said was true. There were many coincidences in it. Some of the media just wanted to catch up with the trend and didn't want to be left behind. They didn't expect the public opinion would be so explosive. Maybe they were also panicking now. At this time, it was not impossible to find the mysterious, relevant department to delete the posts and clean up the public opinion on a large scale on the internet. The advantage of this method was that it was very effective and could eliminate all the negative reports and comments in a very short time. The disadvantage was that the news report was deleted, but the impression in people's hearts couldn't be changed in a short time. In addition to the main report, there were countless communication channels such as forums, Tieba, Weibo, QQ groups, and WeChat groups. It was very difficult to clean up these channels one by one, and it was a waste of money and manpower. He also had to owe a debt of gratitude that he didn't know how to repay. God knew how many connections he had to make, but the effect was not guaranteed. After all, this was his own private matter, and it didn't involve others. Also, if he used the method of deleting posts, it would only make him look like he was hiding something. At the very least, before the final exams, he would have to prove that others were slandering him. In the future, when he wanted to overturn the case, not everyone would be able to notice the news of him being whitewashed. He could only hope that time would erase the impression in people's hearts little by little, which was very powerless. Therefore, deleting the posts for a while would bring endless troubles. So, except for deleting the posts, what else could he do to reverse the case as soon as possible? Sai, being poor, had its troubles, but it also had its benefits. After all, the barefooted was not afraid of wearing shoes. Even if he lost his underwear, it was just the price of a pair of CK underwear. Now, he was different from the past. He had money and power, but he had to be cautious and have many concerns. This was all the old man's small money, and the amount was too large. Like other companies, the market value would shrink by a certain percentage, and the loss would be in the tens of millions. Just thinking about it made his heart hurt so much that he couldn't breathe. The poor would face such an awkward situation after suddenly turning over a new leaf. Their minds were still calculating the accounts like the poor, but they were faced with the financial inconsistency of the rich, easily tens of millions of dollars. It was quite awkward. Maybe after a few years, he would be like those who played with the tide in the stock market and get used to the ups and downs, and then he would get used to this kind of thing. But now, even if he knew that it wasn't difficult for him to earn money, even if Tianguang Brokerage lost everything, his net worth was still in the hundreds of millions, he still felt unhappy. The old man had been in the business world for more than half a year and had never suffered a defeat. What he put into his pocket, not a single cent less. Whoever wants to ruin my reputation is equivalent to making me lose money, wanting my life, and becoming my enemy. With this thought in mind, he parked his car in the parking lot of Tianguang Brokerage's Lida building. Usually, at this time, all the employees of Tianguang Brokerage would have gotten off work, but today was a special time, and everyone in the company was working overtime to deal with the storm on the internet. On one hand, they had to connect with the major media outlets, and on the other, they had to work hard to contact a public relations company. Otherwise, they had to turn into a water army and try their best to turn the tide on the internet. Before the highest management of the company, which was Chen Guang himself, came up with a definite solution, this was the safest and least likely way to go wrong. At the same time, there had to be someone who had a clear and precise grasp of the public opinion, summarizing the current situation to perfection, so that when Chen Guang arrived, he could give a complete report as soon as possible. This would help the old CEO of Tuasho accurately grasp the current situation. This glorious and difficult task fell on the head of Tianguang Brokerage, the #1 paparazzi, Liu Xiaoyang. But the others were not idle, including the cleaning department, the security department, and the food department. The 2 treasures and 1 sugar department did not get off work. With Chu Hanji in the lead, the cleaning department employees were also sweeping the floor while browsing the forum on their phones. To put it nicely, they were doing multiple things at the same time. The other person in charge of the company, Tang Ying, even ran over from the hospital to take charge. Although most of her attention was spent on her own matters in the hospital, she was not very familiar with the specific operations and management of Tianguang Brokerage. After discovering that Chen Guang was quite good at making money and was not squandering like she had feared, she did not like to ask too much about the company's matters. But she felt that, as the executive vice president, she could at least boost the employees' confidence by taking charge in the company at this critical moment of life and death. At least, that was what she thought. In such a huge company, a few middle-level executives were sitting in the big conference room, each busy with their own work, exchanging opinions from time to time. Yu Hong was making phone calls everywhere, mobilizing his connections in the country. The marketing manager, Fang Tianyu, was furiously scanning the news. Other than observing the public opinion, he also had to come up with a marketing plan in his head, thinking of ways to turn passivity into initiative. The finance manager, Su Li, was also holding a phone, contacting one person after another in charge of the marketing account, and the head of the Internet Water Army, bargaining, striving to achieve maximum control over the public opinion with the least amount of effort. The operations manager was not in the conference room, but was outside accompanying Tang Ying as she walked around. The one who had the hardest time was the publicity and public relations manager, Lu Xiaoliang. He had to find contacts everywhere, and from time to time, he had to summarize the information sent to the company's office software from various departments. Today's incident was within the scope of his publicity and public relations department, so he had a great responsibility. Chen Guang walked into the office with a solemn expression. In fact, he was quite annoyed at this moment. If it weren't for this incident, he would have been happily studying at home. He had rushed here from school, wasted 2 to 3 hours, and obviously, they were trying to keep the old man busy. Okay, everyone sit down. 3 ahem. Manager Lu, tell me about the current situation. Chen Guang wanted to say butt-face, but this was a very formal and serious occasion, so it was better to save some face for him. Lu Xiaoliang sorted out his thoughts, stood up, coughed lightly, and began to speak to the laptop in front of him. About 10 minutes later, he had roughly analyzed the current situation on the internet. He was really a professional. In less than 10 minutes, his summary had taken care of all aspects. The specific content included, but was not limited to, which information platform had the hottest discussion about this incident, the approximate number of news reports related to this incident, the position of these articles, and the popularity of the comments below. Preliminary estimates: the general proportion of people who were flaming Chen Guang, the attitudes of these people, the number of people who supported Chen Guang, whether these people showed any signs of turning from fans to haters, and how much the change was. The age and gender composition of the fans and haters, the analysis of the potential motives of the haters and news writers, and so on. As for Lu Xiaoliang's reporting work, it could be summed up in one word: high-end. Chapter 834. In summary, this incident started with a post on the boss's school forum yesterday afternoon. Through the active participation of Gokyo University's internal students, it gradually became more popular. Then, earlier this morning, on today's front page app, a review editor was the first to expose this incident. His position was neutral, and he simply reported this incident to verify its authenticity. 5 minutes later, an article with a slightly combative stance appeared on today's front page. Half an hour later, major web portals, including Little News, Penguin News, Daily Express News, and so on, followed suit. Although these articles do not have an obvious rhythm, there is a very vague, derogatory meaning between the lines. The biggest problem isn't the articles written by these media people, but the netizens who followed the posts. Only a small portion of them are the boss's fans and supporters. Most of them are using this incident to attack the boss. For example, this person wrote, "Chen Guang became famous too quickly, and now he's inflated. And this, baldy Chen Guang, brainless, pretentious, heartless, despicable. Ahem, you don't have to read out all the words that scolded me." Chen Guang coughed. He felt that Lu Xiaoliang was using his position to get back at him. He must have been looking for a reason to scold him, but he just didn't have the chance. Forget it. Seeing that you've done well today, I'll forgive you for your wrongdoings and let you off the hook. At this moment, his heart was filled with happiness. The ancients didn't lie to him. There was strength in numbers. Having the help of a team was much better than having to fight alone. All right, I'm clear about the situation now. Next, old you. Chun Guang led the topic to Yu Hong. After the middle-level executives finished reporting, Chun Guang had a clearer grasp of the situation. Lord Guang expressed that the situation was a little troublesome. Indeed, as previously analyzed, there really wasn't anyone behind this incident. It was completely a natural situation. This was the most troublesome part. Public opinion and public relations might seem simple, but it was something that required a lot of skill. For example, every time a famous director in the country released a new film, he would find someone to argue with and use his fame and the reputation of the person he argued with to hype up his new film. He had tried this method many times over the years, and the results were excellent. But this time, when he repeated the same trick, not only did he not get any support from the public on the internet, but he also attracted a lot of criticism, and even the box office of his movie was affected. Why did the same move work so well in the past, but not now? Mastering the techniques of writing and arguing, how to express one's views on Weibo, every sentence, every word, and every line contained a great deal of knowledge. When it came to the timing of a catfight, every word and sentence of a catfight on Weibo, the effect expressed by a single sentence was often the result of a difference of 1,000 miles. For the sake of his new film, the famous director had secretly torn apart another well-known popular female star who had no acting skills. This time, he had earned a reputation and made the popular female star take the blame. Moreover, it was only an insinuation, and no one could refute it. Of course, it could also be because he was a veteran in the industry and had a high status, so they let him have his way. Then, the second step was to tear apart the university, dragging the famous university with him to be the scapegoat, and then continue to hype up the popularity of his movie. Unexpectedly, this time, he had made a wrong move, and his trick was seen through. The popularity of the movie increased a little, but his bad reputation was even worse. Now that the movie was released, he put on an attitude of being the most powerful and continued to tear apart the cinema chain. Well, it was the home of Chun Guang's old acquaintance, Little Kong. This time it was even worse. He did not expect that silly Little Tsong was also a canon. The moment the famous director made a move, he immediately responded. Although Little Tsong was full of black marks on the internet in the past, and everyone scolded him when they saw him, this time, because of the famous director's repeated, underhanded methods to hype up the movie, everyone was extremely fed up with his catfight routine. The fame of the movie seemed to be a little better, but it was also a lot of curses. The famous director went for wool and came home shorn. Little Tsong, who was amenable to coaxing but not coercion, directly cut the screening rate of his new movie to almost zero. Although there might be more to this matter, so far, it seemed that the famous director had suffered a huge loss. This kind of thing could not be said who was right or wrong, it was only judged by the results. In order to promote the movie, the famous director had used all kinds of methods, but he lost his reputation and money because he did not grasp the scale and skills of public opinion well. At the same time, Chun Guang's current situation had a similar effect. If he wasn't careful and made a wrong move, it would probably bring a long-term damage to his reputation. Chun Guang frowned and began to think about the main attack points of the online haters. In a sense, he was a very lazy person, and he really did not want to waste his brain on these things. These kinds of complicated things were not his specialty. But this time, as the leader of the company and the only celebrity IP in the entire company, he had to stand up and make the decision. First of all, he had to grasp the core contradiction. What on earth were these people scolding me about? Chun Guang looked at this line of words in the summary report written by Lu Xiaoliang in front of him. Most people think that an omnipotent Superman cannot complete the studies of 8 minor languages in a dignified manner. With this as the core contradiction, they think that he is either playing to the gallery, disturbing the campus, and destroying the peace of the century-old Gokyo University, which will seriously affect the order of the school, or that he planned to use his advantage of being famous from the beginning to get some credits to graduate, but he did not expect that it would be exposed. Then, he is tarnishing the school, tarnishing the education of China, which is extremely unfair to other exam-oriented students. Or, as analyzed by another group of people, Gokyo University is one of the few comprehensive universities with a balanced ratio of male and female students among the national key universities. And the proportion of female students in the School of Foreign Languages is relatively high, and the quality is also relatively high. Although the omnipotent Superman Chen Guang behaves very well in other aspects, his personal life does not seem to be so clean. In addition to the intermittent scandal with Jean Shirihue, he and his beautiful counselor, his classmates, his beautiful bodyguard, and even another beautiful vice president of the company. If there is no relationship between him and his beautiful counselor, his classmates, his beautiful bodyguard, and even another beautiful vice president of the company, no one would believe that there is no relationship between him and his beautiful counselor, his classmates, his beautiful bodyguard, and even another beautiful vice president of the company. I heard that he has many female confidants that he is yet to reveal. So, it is very likely that he really went there for the girls in the foreign languages department. The first half of Lu Xiaoliang's long summary was that no one believed that he could pass the exam normally. He must have some ulterior motive. The last 3 points of analysis were all extended from the core of the analysis. He could still express his emotions calmly in the first 2 points, but the third one was simply intolerable. Especially when Tang Ying, the beautiful vice president of the analysis team, was rolling her eyes at him. He couldn't just let this matter go. What kind of lousy logic is this? What kind of person do they think I am? I am such an upright person. Chen Guang slammed the table. Tang Ying rolled her eyes even more. In fact, she was quite guilty. Outsiders did not know much about Wu Tong, but she was clear that there was definitely something going on between Wu Tong and Chen Guang. Well, it seems that I am not really innocent. Why does no one believe that I really intend to take the exam and get some credits? It's just a small matter, but I have to make such a big deal out of it. This is ridiculous. Chen Guang slammed the table again. Across the country, there were at least 8 to 9 million, if not tens of millions, of students who signed up for elective courses. Signing up for an elective course was normal for others, but when it came to him, it became a big black mark. This matter was quite troubling for anyone. Okay, I know what happened. Everyone, let's think of a solution together. The time is now 7 p.m. We have to come up with a solution before 9 p.m., and then we will have a meeting to discuss what to do. If the situation does not improve by 10 p.m. and we can't come up with a solution, then we will first find someone to delete the post and ban it. Although there will be some consequences, we can't care too much about it. Chen Guang made the final decision for this meeting and then returned to his office. Tang Ying came in and chatted with him for a while, then she hurried back to the hospital. It was said that a research project she had been involved in was about to produce results, and she was actually quite busy. Sitting in his office, Chen Guang first browsed the internet for some news. He really could not come up with any good ideas, so he simply gathered his thoughts and took out the next course and began to study. When it was 8:40 p.m., he stretched and stood up from his leather chair. He stood beside the floor-to-ceiling window of his office and looked down at the people and the endless flow of cars. He felt a little emotional. In the past, he would not care about these rumors on the internet, but now that his family and status were not the same as before, he had fetters in his heart, and he could not bear to part with the glory, splendor, and wealth. He was no longer alone, but the brand of his company. He could not help but care about these things. During this period, he even received a call from Jean Shirihue and Jiang Yage, asking if he needed their help to clean up the situation. Chen Guang shook his head and refused. There was essentially no difference between them and him looking for help. You can't just ignore this matter. You can't let this situation continue to spread. You have been in the limelight recently, and if you don't think of a way to control it, people may continue to spread this matter, and then it will be troublesome. Let's not talk about faraway things. The movie will officially start shooting at the end of this month, and your scenes will probably be finished in about 3 to 4 months. After that, you'll have to promote it during the Spring Festival, and it will be released in March or April next year at the latest. At that time, your negative news will seriously affect the promotion of the movie. Recently, people have been calling for people to boycott the box office because of various things. This is really not a joke. The power of the netizens is greater than you can imagine. Jean Shirihue said worriedly. Chapter 8:35. Jiang Yage also added fuel to the fire. Sister Shirihue is right. You invested so much money in women. You can't expect us to increase the box office, right? That would be so shameful. Our dear Guangguang, can I interview you? What were you thinking at that time? Although Sister Shuriwei and I majored in music and performance and have never studied in a comprehensive university like yours, we have never seen anyone sign up for an elective course like this. There are 8 foreign languages. Chen Guang sighed. What interview? What could I think at that time? I just need a few credits so I can sign up for a few courses that I can definitely get. What's the big deal?
Wait.
What did you say just now? Zhang Yage was shocked. Jean Shirwa leaned over as well, thinking that she had heard wrongly on the speaker. A course that's guaranteed to pass? Chen Guang snorted. Of course. Don't tell me you think I'm just messing around. You mean you know all of those weird languages that are written in the news? Jean Shirwa snatched the phone and asked. Chen Guang said, Yes, I know all of them. I'm not bragging. Don't mess around. You don't have time to learn these. Zhang Yage poured cold water on him again. Chen Guang didn't have the mood to explain to them, and he couldn't explain it clearly. Anyway, I know. I knew it when I was born. No, one day when I was struck by lightning on the road, I knew it. I know all the foreign languages in the world. The 2 people on the other side of the phone thought they were listening to a science fiction story, but his tone didn't sound like he was joking at all, but what he said was so ridiculous. After a long time, Jean Shirwa said, If what you said is true, I have an idea. What idea? It's about next week. I heard that there is a World Language Conference in Beijing. Recently, Solomon and I want to write 2 songs with some African elements, so we found a famous African composer. This is what she told us. World Language Conference? Chen Guang raised his eyebrows. He held the phone in one hand and typed on the keyboard with the other. A few seconds later, he saw the encyclopedia of this thing. The World Language Conference, also known as the World Applied Linguistics Conference, was a large-scale conference known as the Olympic Games of International Linguistics. It was held every 3 years and was a global academic event for applied linguistics. At this grand event, linguistic education experts from all over the world would conduct discussions. Not only would it reflect the current research hotspots in the discipline, but it would also record the history of the discipline's development. It would also be a window for the past host countries to showcase their research standards and cultural charm. That's right. We've also heard of something else. It's different from the past where it was just a simple discussion. In order to attract more young people's attention, the organizers of this year's conference in Beijing are even preparing to start a competition. When the time comes, it will probably be broadcasted live on Central TV's UNESCO channel. Master Guang's eyes lit up in an instant, just like a xenon lamp that had been illegally modified with a lens. It was dazzling. What the F***CK? It was as if the heavens were about to descend upon them to force them into a corner. This is the god of fate's favor. Is the bell of destiny, my meat toilet. You're so good to me. I've just made a big fuss, and I'm still lacking an idea to turn things around. It turns out that you've already prepared such a big stage for me. You're just waiting for me to make a rallying cry so that I can go and show off. How can I make all the doubters shut their mouths and turn their doubts into worship? In this world, is there anything more straightforward than going to the World Language Conference to show off? There's a national live broadcast to begin with, so he doesn't need to do it himself. This is a heaven-sent opportunity that saves time, effort, and worry. Apart from that, Little Tsong, who is having a great time arguing with the famous director, should also be getting a lot of flaming. He probably needs some other big news to divert attention. Isn't that perfect? The old man is here to give you another topic to talk about. This is great. He was instantly overjoyed and slammed the table. Actually, our composer friend was going to participate in this competition, but Jean Shirwa said again. Chen Guang's heart tightened. What's wrong? I heard that the organizers' budget is tight. After all, if they want to invite participants from all over the world to Beijing, there will be at least 1,000 of them. Each person's airfare, accommodation, food, and other expenses will add up to tens of millions of RMB. You know, this kind of academic conference usually doesn't get any strong sponsors. I'll sponsor. Without any hesitation, Chen Guang slammed his hand on the table and made the final decision. It wasn't that he was generous to the point that he didn't care about money, but his countless experiences in the past had taught him that these things might seem like burning money for nothing, but as long as he had his signature dish on the table, he would definitely make a profit. Furthermore, so what if he really made a loss? As long as the hype was good, through this conference, he would be able to use indisputable facts to announce to the world that the almighty Superman in front of them, Chen Guang, was not a guy with all brawn and no brains. He was the most powerful language master in the history of mankind. There was no language on this earth that he didn't know. Then, the god statue of the language master, the world in the cup, was about to appear. In terms of English alone, it was too difficult to gain widespread recognition and build up the image of a god in a cup. There was no quantitative standard for whether one's English was good or not, and it was even harder to gain recognition than playing the piano. But what if it became 4,978 languages? Who would dare to not accept it? Who in the world could be a match for him? Chen Guang would never have dreamed that a small matter like signing up for 8 minor language elective courses in school would lead to the opportunity to create a new god statue. This could only be said that he was destined to put on a good show. He couldn't defy fate. Most importantly, this wasn't an ordinary god statue of the world in the spirit-seeing cup. This was the first time he had the opportunity to establish a god statue of the second stage of the Heavenly Holy Grail, the one-line Heavenly Cup. Although he didn't know what was special about the one-line Heavenly God statue, it wasn't important. The power of the world in the cup was more than 10 times that of the first stage, the one-line Heavenly God statue. He would naturally find out when the time came. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be rich. After chatting with Jin Shuriwa and Zhang Yage for dozens of seconds, Chen Guang hung up the phone and walked out of the office in high spirits. He waved his hand and said, "Everyone, come to the conference room. I have a big plan." The hundreds of employees of Tianguang Agency, who were working overtime until their faces were pale, were instantly invigorated. Feng Tianyu, who was scratching his head but still couldn't come up with a feasible and creative solution, was even more teary-eyed. "Director Chen, I really don't want to admit it, but when I see you in such high spirits, I suddenly have a pillar of support in my heart." Lu Xiaoliang was secretly hating that he had accidentally let Feng Tianyu take the lead again. Director Chen is mighty. Although he didn't know what ideas Chen Guang had, it was definitely a good idea to suck up to him first. Yu Hong felt a little awkward. After all, he was already so old and couldn't be as shameless as those two. All right, don't be in such a hurry to suck up to me. Everyone come to the conference room." Chen Guang waved his hand and rolled his eyes. He said, "Oh right, everyone has worked hard today. Other than the company's middle management, the rest of the employees can get off work. And this month's overtime pay will be increased by 1,000 each to calm down. Everyone can go home and explain to their wives and children." "Hey, Director Chen, single female employees don't have wives and children." A pretty female clerk teased. "Oh, I see. Come to my office tomorrow to talk about life. It's really like what the rumors say. We have a perverted director." However, everyone knew that Director Chen was joking. He was very picky, and those who caught his eye were not just beautiful. Beauty was not enough, they also had to be capable. After joking with the employees, Chen Guang called all the company's middle management into the conference room. The chief of the cleaning department, Chu Hanji, was actually sitting in the last row. He held a small notebook in his hand and looked like he was ready for battle. Chen Guang didn't even want to ridicule him. Actually, after such a long time, the Guangding General Administration's employees in the company had already left and moved to the Guangding General Administration's office, building on the other side. Now, the 2 treasures and 1 candy only had about 1/3 of the Guangding General Administration's underground gang members. According to Chen Guang's own thoughts, Chu Hanji should have gone there long ago. He didn't know what was going on in his mind. He was still shamelessly staying in his own company. It was obvious that he wanted to earn 2 salaries. How shameful. All right, I have an idea. I just received news that there will be a world language conference in Beijing next week. You guys can find out what this conference is about. What I want to say is that they're going to organize a competition, but they lack sponsorship. My request is very simple. We will sponsor it ourselves, and I will participate. If I win this competition, then today's problem will be solved easily. I can even turn passivity into initiative and turn all the negative information on the internet into flattery for me. Money has to be earned. Reputation, I also have to get it back. You guys have to think of a way to talk to them and get the whole conference into your pocket. We can't sponsor for nothing. How to use this conference to operate a good business model to make profits is your business. If it's possible, you guys should go there by tomorrow at the latest. Also, Old You, Old Fong, and Dog 3, you three better find a way to contact the conference organizer today and express our intentions. At the same time, you can also appropriately reveal my identity so that they won't have any thoughts of canceling the competition. All right, dismissed. This was the advantage of being a boss. He could set the tone. As for the other trivial matters, naturally, he would let others handle them. After Chen Guang finished speaking, he planned to leave. Oh my, I really want to go home and read. Lu Xiaoliang hurriedly stood up and asked, "That, boss, although I'm not very clear about the specific model of the competition you mentioned, but since the conference is called the World Language Conference, there should be experts from all over the world, right? I heard that some people are born with the Broca area in their brains that is related to language learning is especially developed. They know dozens or even hundreds of languages. Boss, do we need to do something behind the scenes?" Chen Guang waved his hand heroically, and an extremely arrogant and confident smile appeared on his face. "I don't even care about you. Dozens or even hundreds of languages. Humph. It's not even enough for me, your boss." After saying that, he turned around and left without staying any longer. I can't take it anymore. I'm about to lose control of my pretentiousness. I feel like my whole body is about to burn up. Only knowledge can calm me down. Chapter 836. Until his figure disappeared into the elevator, everyone in the meeting room was dumbfounded. Chu Hanji was the only one who had the right to comment on Chen Guang's bragging. However, he couldn't say it because it was confidential. Not long ago, Chen Guang had helped Wu Tong arrest several World Shatter assassins during a piano performance in Beijing. At that time, Chen Guang's knowledge of Tubermuru, an unpopular foreign language, was classified as confidential. Only a few people in China had the right to access it. Because Chu Hanji was also in the Guangdong headquarters and was loyal to Chen Guang, he was qualified to know about Chen Guang's matters so that he could cooperate with Chen Guang better. In his heart, he knew that Chief Chen might not be bragging, and victory was in his grasp. He even knew Tubermuru, which was used as a trump card by the World Shatter. It was only natural for him to know other languages. You people don't understand how powerful Chief Chen is. He had intended to take notes in his notebook, but he subconsciously wrote down a huge word that took up an entire page. This was handsome. When Chen Guang parked his car in the district's car park, it was already past 10 p.m. He held the cup in his hand as he walked along the district's walkway. The autumn wind blew on his body, and the streetlights on both sides of the road were dim, casting a long shadow on the ground. Chen Guang kept stepping on his own shadow, but he couldn't reach the end. He didn't feel tired, but he felt annoyed. Regardless of how others looked at him, he felt that he was different from the past. When he was poor and ordinary, he had ordinary worries and pain, and he always wanted to change his life, himself, and his family. But unknowingly, a few months had passed, and the cup in his hand had changed him too much. When everything was no longer the same, he would occasionally think of his ordinary self and miss the past. Being poor was good, but being rich was vexing. He shook his head and felt that this was a problem that needed to be treated. When he was down and out, he fantasized that he was omnipotent. But when he became rich, he would miss the carefree life. How could people do as they pleased? To live in this world, one had to deal with all kinds of people and all kinds of things. How could there be so many bad habits? He took out the key and opened the door. There were two uninvited guests in the house. They were Xian Qin and Wu Miaowan, the two deputy directors who were supposed to be at the Guangdong General Bureau. Enchanting was wearing a white chiffon short-sleeved pajama top, which was probably unbuttoned. Her lower body was also wearing a set of loose chiffon pajama pants, which looked a little translucent. However, she still had a bit of integrity, and she was still wearing undergarments. Wu Miaoan and Enchanting were about the same, but they were dressed in emerald green attire, which gave them a different kind of charm. The two of them had been busy for 2 days. The Guangdong General Bureau seemed to have finally digested all the information they had gathered from the world of destruction. It was rare for them to take a break, so Chen Guang did not teach them a lesson. Instead, he looked at them quietly at the door. When his eyes were comfortable, he walked forward and coughed twice. I say, the two of you should control yourselves. Don't tear my sofa apart. Now that I've bought these 2 houses, they'll be mine in the future. Save me some energy. Enchanting and Wu Miaoan stopped what they were doing and sat down on the sofa obediently. Oh, the director has spoken. So scary, so scary. Enchanting chuckled. Wu Miaoan looked Chen Guang up and down. Wait, something doesn't seem right. Am I seeing things? She rubbed her eyes again. After a long time, she stared at Chen Guang and pounced forward. Chen Guang was ambushed by her. He leaned back and lay on the other sofa. What are you doing? Wu Miaoan pointed at Chen Guang's face in horror. Then, she turned to Enchanting and exclaimed, Oh my God! This guy has inner force. He had it yesterday, but my brain was a little stiff at that time. I couldn't react in time. Enchanting's interest was piqued. She leaned forward and stared at Chen Guang's face. From time to time, she would put her hand on Chen Guang's pulse. He really has inner force. How did you do it? The two of them could not help but be shocked. Unlike others, they had watched Chen Guang practice the painting manual from scratch. Although this guy was strange and unconventional, and there were always some parts of his body that would mysteriously improve, he was still within the range of a normal human. But not long ago, maybe 3 or 4 days ago, when everyone was still in Utopia, this guy had recovered the memories of the Grand Magister Reichen from his previous life. It was understandable that he had the power to destroy the world. After all, that was in his previous life. It was not surprising that a Grand Magister had such abilities. At that time, his body, especially his chest and abdomen, looked quite weak. He was a little stronger than an ordinary person, but he was still far from being able to practice inner force. But only a few days had passed, and this guy suddenly had inner force in his stomach. Look at his hands, his feet, his head, his waist, and the feel of his 8-pack. Cough, in short, this guy had no shortcomings. He was perfect and flawless. This was ridiculous. However, Chen Guang didn't have the time to respond to Enchanting's words. Instead, he was looking left and right. He had a feeling that the two of them were probably using the pretense of being curious about his internal energy, but in reality, they were using despicable and wretched methods to seduce him. Look at these two. They're immoral. You know that I'm weak, but you're still crawling in front of me. Are you trying to test me? As it turned out, Wu Miaoan, who was crawling on top of him, was right in front of him. Her collar was wide open, and he could see straight inside. Wu Miaoan might not be tall, and her body was thin, but her pockets were full of goods. Because of her unguarded movements, 2 bright white hemispheres appeared clearly in front of Chen Guang's eyes. As she moved from time to time, her collar swayed left and right, causing the 2 indescribables to appear and disappear under Chen Guang's sharp gaze. Logically speaking, the combination of the green veil and Wu Miaoan's innocent expression that seemed to be focused on something else made it more tempting to commit a crime than not fully clothed. There was a charm in her innocence, a shyness in her charm, and a boldness in her shyness. It was rather indescribable. No, I can't take it anymore. I can't look anymore. With that thought in mind, Chen Guang turned his face to the other side. Sigh. There's a wolf in the front and a tiger in the back. It's impossible to guard against them. Wu Miaoan was already ferocious enough, but Enchanting on the other side was even more shameless. Her collar was even more open than Wu Miaoan's, and her posture was even more domineering. As far as the eye could see, there was nothing left. The undulating peaks and surging waves made for a beautiful scene. Alright, in a sense, the relationship between him and Enchanting had opened up to a whole new level. It was as if this was the first time he was able to look at Enchanting's tender body at such a close distance. It felt quite special. This was different from the time when Enchanting ambushed him while he was bathing. At that time, he was still guilty and didn't dare to look too much. Enchanting had exposed herself a few times, but most of the time, she had evil intentions and was after his painting scroll. At that time, he was guarding against her like a thief. Now, his mentality was different. Things were different now. He didn't have any psychological burden when he used his eyes to take advantage of her. He was just worried that his physique couldn't keep up. Back when he was refueling her in midair, he didn't have much time and energy to be intimate with her, nor did he have the time to savor her. Everything happened too quickly. Even now, when he thought about it, it felt surreal, like a dream. If he had the chance one day, he would probably be able to relive his old dream under normal circumstances. But looking at little Enchanting, she seems to be calmer than me. Her attitude hasn't changed much from before. It's a little hurtful and depressing. That's impossible. I'm a pile driver. You look like you've just been bitten by a mosquito. I can't help but feel that something's wrong. All right. Let me get up. What's so strange about it? The old man can even learn magic. What's so special about inner force? When the old man was in the other world, he could read at the age of 1, communicate with the elements at the age of 1.5, recite spells at the age of 2, become a magic apprentice at the age of 3, an advanced magician at the age of 15, and a magister before the age of 30. All the cultivation methods in this world, whether it's my magic or the inner force in this world, are similar. As long as I want to learn it, it's as easy as blowing off dust. Chun Guang struggled to straighten his body from the sofa and said righteously. Compared to the past, Chun Guang had a new way of bragging in front of these two people. The genius great magician was always so unreasonable, so blunt, but without reason. I don't care if you believe it or not, I believe it first. Enchanting and Wu Miaowan almost believed it. Wu Miaowan pulled up his coat and continued to stare at his chest and abdomen. She gasped, This is the legendary innate martial sage body. Are you really a magician and not a warrior who cultivates battle energy? Chun Guang learned a new term. It sounded overbearing, but he didn't know if it was the innate martial sage body that she was talking about. However, it's definitely not an innate martial sage body. This is the reward for bringing you guys on a journey and fighting monsters in the punishment realm. How can you mortals understand my hard work and sacrifice? As for Wu Miaowan's rambling about battle energy, he decided to pretend that he didn't hear it. This girl must have gone to read some fantasy novels. Forget it. I have to give her a reasonable explanation. Chapter 837. Chun Guang stood up again. The aura of Grand Magister Right Chen was once again possessed by him. He walked to the window with his hands behind his back and took a deep breath. That's right. Two beautiful ladies, you didn't see wrongly. My body has undergone some changes, and it has been since a long time ago. At that time, I didn't understand the reason, but now I know. This is the legacy that my previous life, Right Chen, left for me in this life. Compared to ordinary mages, the biggest advantage of a Grand Magister is that he can turn his body into a vessel for elemental power. Every Grand Magister has a body that is perhaps unparalleled in this world. What's more, I, Right Chen, am a rare genius. When I died in my previous life, I had already broken through the shackles of a Grand Magister and became an existence equivalent to a god in another world. In other words, I am an elemental controller. I have the legendary sacred elemental body. The moment I recover my memory in that world, the sacred elemental body that I obtained from practicing magic painstakingly in my previous life also awakened. After we left that world, my body completely became the sacred elemental body, which is what you see now. This body is probably the last treasure that I brought back from my hometown world. Sigh. In this world where magical elemental power is thin, My magic is completely useless. You guys are talking to me about the innate martial sage body that I don't understand. If I don't make up an even more awesome title of sacred elemental body, I won't be able to control the situation. Anyway, the already F** Ketup Dolua world is structured according to my thoughts. According to idealism, that world no longer exists. If I say that there is a sacred elemental body, then there really is one. Anyway, I've already talked about the Grand Magister. If I continue to bluff right chin, it would be more reasonable than the heavenly Holy Grail. At least there would be some cause and effect, and it would be easier for the two to be convinced. The same trick worked as expected. It worked again. Enchanting and Wu Miaowan were fooled by him. Grey Magister right, don't be sad. Don't you still have us? Wu Miaowan was so touched that she threw herself at Chen Guang. Enchanting also looked at him with tears in her eyes. Let bygones be bygones. Don't live in the past. Look forward to the future. Chen Guang nodded. That's right. That's why I have to learn the cultivation method of this world, which is inner force, just like how I studied magic in my previous life. But we want to learn magic. Wu Miaowan's evil intentions had never died. Chen Guang smiled coolly and said, "It doesn't matter. Please take off your pants first and let the old man and your excellency have a deep exchange of body fluids. In this way, you will be able to feel the extremely thin magic elements in this world through the old man." Ahem, Mr. Director, please be a little more reserved. Xiao Miao Miao is still a child.
Bah.
Aren't you two childhood friends? She's an adult when she's with you, but she's a child when she's with Wu Miaowan. She's causing trouble. Although Enchanting was quite magnanimous, she wasn't completely without her own thoughts. Chen Guang was anxious. However, he was just saying it. Although Wu Miaowan was bold with her words, he didn't know what kind of unorthodox methods she had learned from her master, Wu Qingming. She just had to keep him in suspense, making him feel like he could push her down in the next second. She seduced him in all sorts of ways, but he couldn't touch her even though he could see her. Chen Guang felt that Wu Qingming didn't teach her anything good. She must be using the unorthodox methods of a vixen to deceive men. Moreover, outsiders had been saying that his private life had been very promiscuous recently, and he was under quite a lot of psychological pressure. He would continue tormenting himself when he was free for a while. All right. I know you're stingy, so I'm not in a hurry. However, Mr. Big Chrysanthemum Head, do you want to see what realm of martial artist you're at now? Wu Miaowan rolled her eyes. She knew that Chen Guang was feeling uncomfortable when she saw his excited yet reserved expression. She smiled and changed the topic, finding out what Chen Guang was most concerned about. As expected, his eyes lit up.
Sure. How?
But can't the two of you see through the realm of those who are weaker than you at a glance? Enchanting rolled her eyes in annoyance. Ordinary martial artists can do that, but you are cultivating the painting scroll. Your aura is restrained and condensed. If you don't take the initiative to release your inner force, I really can't see your realm from your appearance and aura. Is the painting manual that powerful?
Chen Guang asked.
Wu Miaowan said enviously. Of course. Otherwise, why would the Wen family be able to roam the pugilistic world for so many years without being defeated? Even though they've been relatively lonely for the past few years, they're still one of the 3 great families that no one dares to look down on. Isn't that because of the ingenuity of the painting manual? That's right. You're so stingy, Big Chrysanthemum Head. You didn't teach us magic properly, and you didn't even reveal a bit of your inner force. Tell me, why are little Miao Miao and I so unlucky to have an ingrate like you? Compared to magic, Enchanting seemed to be more interested in Chen Guang's painting manual. It seemed that the two of them had different preferences. At the same time, Chen Guang also felt embarrassed by her words. He was a little tempted in his heart, but the painting manual belonged to someone else, and Wenwen only gave it to him because she trusted him. So how could he give it to someone else as a favor? You guys.
Sigh.
Don't make things difficult for me. Chen Guang was extremely frustrated. All right, I know you're picky, but it doesn't matter. Cut the crap and make your move. Wu Miaoan bounced back and spun in the air before landing in a corner of the living room. She faced Chen Guang and got into a fighting stance. Chen Guang took a deep breath and circulated his inner force according to the painting manual's incantation, adjusting his qi. In an instant, he felt a warm current flowing from the depths of his dantian to his limbs and bones like water. Everywhere it passed, he felt a cool aura, especially in his limbs. He could feel his muscles bulging slightly. Although he did not deliberately exert any force, he could clearly feel that his strength was much stronger than the qilin arm he once had. It was said that it trained the muscles, bones, and skin on the outside, while the essence, qi, and spirit were trained internally. Essence, qi, and spirit were a trinity. Even for someone without inner force, their mental state would change according to the state of their body and willpower. Therefore, martial artists usually use the external muscles, bones, and skin to describe their realm. It was precisely because after the inner force was generated, the qi would gradually grow stronger as one's skills became more profound. Whether it was when one was walking or deliberately circulating one's qi during a fight, different levels of inner force would have obvious effects on a martial artist's strength. The stronger one's strength was, the stronger the inner force qi would be. A martial artist's body would also undergo subtle changes due to the long years of nourishment from the qi. After mastering skin force, a martial artist's entire body would be enveloped by an invisible force when he stimulated his inner force qi. This force was as thin as a cicada's wing, but it could be manipulated at will. When faced with harm, it could not only slow down the impact, but powerful martial artists could even form a spiral on the surface of their body to block cuts and attacks. This was why skin force martial artists were almost invulnerable in the eyes of ordinary people. Therefore, in the past, Wenwen or Xianchin had the absolute ability to suppress Chen Guang, who was still an ordinary person at that time. Even without circulating their inner force, the two of them were on a completely different realm in terms of physical strength. Since mastering inner force, this was the first time Chen Guang had stimulated his qi in an attempt to fight. He could not help but feel a little excited. He widened his eyes and looked at Wu Miaoan in front of him. "Then I'm coming." Wu Miaoan nodded and clapped her hands.
Come on.
"It seems like this is your first time, and you don't look very powerful. Just attack me with all your might, and I'll test your strength. Don't hold back, or I'll be angry with you. All right." As soon as Chen Guang finished speaking, he instantly appeared in front of Wu Miaoan and punched her abdomen with his iron fist without holding back. Seeing that she seemed to be quite confident, Chen Guang also felt that she was at the peak of bone force, and that he, who had just grasped the door, would definitely not be able to hurt her. Therefore, he attacked with all his might. Who would have thought that this punch of his would actually cause a sonic boom? Wu Miaoan's eyes widened as she exclaimed, "What the F***, CK?" The momentum of Chen Guang's punch scared her out of her wits. Before his fist could even get close to her, her face was already bruised by the force of his punch. She did not dare to take it head-on like she said she would. She immediately gathered her qi, and her body became as light as a cicada's feather. She floated backward along with the force of Chen Guang's punch. Just as she was about to crash into the wall, she suddenly turned and barely dodged Chen Guang's punch. The force of his punch, which had lost its target, slammed into the wall with a loud, deafening boom. In an instant, a hole the size of a casserole appeared in the wall, kicking up a cloud of dust. "You're trying to kill me." Wu Miaoan landed far away, panting heavily. She was drenched in cold sweat. Chen Guang was also stunned. His fist was clearly more than a meter away from the wall, but this wall, oh my God, my wall. My newly bought house. My heart hurts. What the hell is this? Why is it that my fist, which I've just learned, is completely different from the two muscle gene martial artists I've met before? Am I that strong? Xianchin also pounced over from the side. She stared blankly at the neat hole in the wall and only came back to her senses after a while. She turned to look at Chen Guang and spat out a word. "Monster." "Hey, don't just complain about me. Hurry up and comment. What level am I at?" Chen Guang also poked his head over. He wouldn't have known if he hadn't looked, but his heart ached even more when he did. Behind the wall was his bedroom, and it seemed to be where the wall-mounted TV was. He didn't need to go in to know the situation inside to know that the flat-screen TV was most likely far away. Damn it. Thank goodness, this isn't a load-bearing wall. Forget it. That punch probably cost 20 to 30,000 yuan. At that moment, a wave of cursing came from the balcony upstairs. What are you doing downstairs? Tearing down a building in the middle of the night? Can't you let me sleep? Chun Guang, Enchanting, and Wu Miaowan knew they were in the wrong, so they shrunk their necks and didn't confront the people upstairs. It was a little too late. Chapter 8:38. After a long while, Wu Miaowan finally calmed down. She was still afraid when she recalled Chun Guang's punch. If she hadn't reacted quickly enough and used the Thousand Flower Valley's secret technique, wandering flower steps, to avoid the punch at the critical moment, she would have been seriously injured, if not dead. The feeling of being enveloped by death just now was not something to joke about. You bastard, you really want to destroy a flower, don't you? Wu Miaowan angrily knocked on Chun Guang's shoulder. Chun Guang was furious. Didn't you tell me to give it my all? I thought you're a bone force expert and I've only just learned it, so I shouldn't be able to hurt you, right? I haven't even said anything to you, but you dodged without saying a word. Look at my wall, there's still a television on the other side. What a great loss. Wu Miaowan was furious. You still have the nerve to say that? I told you to give it your all and you really did? Why haven't you been so obedient in other things? Besides, who knows why you're so strong when you've just learned inner force? This doesn't make sense. Enchanting explained to Chun Guang from the side. Perhaps you can't blame Chun Guang for this. I saw that the inner force he used was roughly equivalent to the entry level of muscle force. The cause of this should be his physical body. It's his first time using a punch, so it's normal that he can't control his strength. This power is only muscle force? Chun Guang didn't believe it. He looked at Wu Miaowan again. Perhaps she was more authoritative since she was facing the power directly. Unexpectedly, Wu Miaowan thought about it and nodded.
My dear, you're right.
It's indeed muscle force level. Of course, you just learned the entry level yesterday, and today you've officially learned the entry level of muscle force. You're probably a once-in-a-thousand-years genius. Your family's muscle force can punch through a wall with one punch? I don't believe it. I'm sure I'm already naughty. You too are afraid that I'll become complacent, right? Chun Guang didn't believe it. Enchanting and Wu Miaowan stared at him for a long time, as if they were looking at a lunatic. They did not want to speak for a long time. Chun Guang felt uncomfortable being stared at by these two people's strange gazes. He said embarrassedly, "Fine, so be it. You two have big breasts, so you guys have the final say." Enchanting. Nonsense. Even the martial sage body can't surpass the level of Tendon Jing. It's impossible. But you know what? This is the scariest part about you. What do you mean? How am I scary? Wu Miaowan patted his shoulder and said in a somewhat dispirited manner, "Think about it. You're only at muscle force now, but a single punch from you is enough to take my life. What would it be like when you've truly advanced to the same bone force as me and my dearest? Right now, you're just like a naughty primary school kid, but you have the strength to tear tigers and leopards apart. When you grow up, it'll be unimaginable." Enchanting nodded as well. She felt a little speechless as she said, "I never believed that a person's physical body could surpass the limits of the internal force once it surpassed its limits. Today, I finally understand that you, this guy, are really, really blessed by the heavens. It's not fair." Chun Guang smiled confidently. "Don't envy me. This is the sacred elemental body that I painstakingly obtained in my previous life. I can't even explain the hardships of it to these two beautiful ladies. I can't bear to look back on the past. However, things didn't go my way. With my sacred elemental body, I actually didn't start off with skin force. It's a fly in the ointment. You're so cocky. Do you know what I admire the most about you?" Enchanting stared at him with glowing eyes. Chun Guang asked, "What?" Wu Miaowan answered for Enchanting. We admire your shamelessness and your insatiable greed. So, what you admire is my weakness. Enchanting. No, this is your strength. Chun Guang had thought that something would happen between the two of them that night. However, after punching through the wall, the two of them didn't stay any longer and ran to the next room in unison. Chun Guang could only sigh at the air as he watched the two of them leave in a hurry. His heart was filled with melancholy. Forget it, I told you to focus on your studies. I have my own beauty in my books. I'll go study and find my beauty. You two will beg me for it. Wu Miaowan has been corrupted. She must have been corrupted. The two of them must have deliberately come to torture me tonight. In another room, Enchanting and Wu Miaowan were whispering to each other. Wu Miaowan said, "Sweetheart, did you catch the feeling when he made his move just now? What's so special about the painting scroll?" Enchanting glared at her. "Don't try to seduce me. I can't breathe. I sucked in a huge breath just now. God knows why this guy's punch was so scattered." Wu Miaowan exclaimed, "Did you absorb the qi from his punch directly into your stomach?" Enchanting hummed through her nose. After she finished speaking, a strange flush suddenly appeared on her originally exceptionally fair face. It was obvious that she was feeling a little uncomfortable because of the swelling. Wu Miaowan sighed. "It must have been hard on you. God knows why this guy is so strong after just grasping inner force. I wanted to exchange a few moves with him and secretly learn some tricks from the painting scroll. In the end, this guy almost killed me with one punch. I thought all my efforts tonight were in vain. But can things like qi really be sucked into one's stomach by inhaling?" Pfft. A long muffled sound came from behind Enchanting's buttocks. Enchanting's entire body deflated like a balloon. She sighed.
Sigh.
Wu Miaowan asked, "Did you fart?" Enchanting blushed. That's it? That's it.
Sigh.
Wu Miaowan sighed. What a failure on the verge of success. Enchanting sighed. Forget it, forget it. I'll just tell him next time. Wu Miaowan shook her head. That won't do. Both of us secretly learned the painting scroll. Even if the cultivation method is leaked, it's our own doing. He's not at fault. But if he leaked it to us on purpose, he won't be able to explain himself to anyone. We can't make things difficult for him. With his personality, he'll probably be tortured to death. Oh, did you feel anything when you farted just now? Can she really be sucked into one's stomach? Is the painting scroll's inner force so solid? Enchanting shook her head. Actually, I just felt a little itchy there. I don't know if it's really useless. Maybe it's just a psychological effect. There? Where? Where my ass is. Really, aren't you ashamed? Isn't that what you asked? You're blaming me. After a brief moment of melancholy, Chun Guang quickly composed himself. He fished out the textbooks and courseware for the next exam from his bag and started studying them. As for the Introduction to Environmental Impact Assessment exam tomorrow, Lord Guang, who already had more than 800,000 faith points in his pocket, was very calm. Speaking of which, with the increase in the size of the deer cry fruit, the production of faith in the cup realm that was previously full was still increasing day by day. Now, unknowingly, it had already increased from the initial 44444 to the current 52,000. In addition to the newly planted Annihilation 20 god statues, the daily production of faith had already exceeded the 400,000 mark. It had been a little more than 2 days since they left the punishment realm. Their accumulated faith points were already close to 900,000. Before tomorrow's exam, they would have more than 1 million. With more than 1 million faith points, they could easily get a deluxe customized world in a cup. Just the thought of it was beautiful. Thinking back to the poor days where he had to count his faith points every day, with this current production, he was as blissful as a farmer who had escaped poverty and was heading for a well-off life. Tonight, he did not stay up all night. He went to bed after watching it for a while. He had been quite tired recently. He curled up in his bed and scrolled through Weibo to see what was going on online. It was no different from earlier. Bad news was still flying everywhere, and his diehard fans were like a red in a sea of flowers. Even the comment section under his Weibo was in a mess. Fans and trolls were engaged in a fierce battle. I've said it before. Almighty Superman is a deceiver. He's not a good person. Only idiots like you would believe his hype. Brains are a good thing. I hope all of you have it. That's right. There's no one in this world who can do what he did. Do the trolls above have any shame? Have you seen the live broadcast? Can a live broadcast be faked? In the eyes of you idiotic fans, even a fart from this damn liar smells good. So, what if it's a live broadcast? Who knew if he had recorded the broadcast and then disguised it as a live broadcast? Other celebrities lip-sync at their concerts. Then the World Darts Championship is also recorded? Do you have the ability to bribe so many people? Playing the piano is also recorded? The Guinness Conference is also recorded? The Sword Tower Throne Challenge is also recorded? The World Arm Wrestling Competition is also recorded? The air crash is also recorded? You haters should be reasonable. Is your whole family recorded? Retard fans. That's right. If people like Chunguang continue to deceive the world like this, it's an insult to everyone. Upstairs, I don't agree with you. I've seen his many live broadcasts. I think that what he did is real. But it doesn't matter. I just don't like him. He likes to create hype. He wants to boast that he's invincible. Can't he be more low-key? I'm a minor language learner. I can tell all of you clearly that it's impossible for anyone to learn 8 minor languages in a semester. Even Superman can't do it. Even those talented mutant geniuses can't do it. Every language family has a different grammatical structure and usage of words. The 8 subjects he applied for are not the same as the differences between Sichuan and Hunan dialects in our Chinese language. It's impossible for his brain to remember them. Learning a foreign language isn't just about memorizing ABCD. I'll be the first to not believe it. That's right. So, what if what he said was real? He's famous now. He's changed. He's at his wit's end. He's starting to use these little tricks to make a name for himself. Chapter 839. The haters upstairs are jealous of Brother Allrounder. Brainless haters' families explode, their fathers' graves dance, and their mothers' hearse drift. This was definitely another black fan who brought up the tempo. I have no other opinions. I'm just unhappy that our goddess Jean Shuriwa is chasing after him, yet he still dares to dodge. I can't take it. That's right. Look at how much Jean Shuriwa has sacrificed for him, yet he didn't confess to her in front of everyone. He even said he likes his whatever tutor. Shameless scumbag. That's right. I support Moonlight CP. Is there no one supporting Jiang Yage and Chen Guang? I think the two of them are quite compatible. Jiang Yage and Chen Guang? Is it Jiang Chen CP? Jiang Chen, your sister. Your whole family is the king of zombies. Chen Guang tossed his phone aside, thinking, sigh, I'm not brave enough. Since I knew I would definitely be flamed, I shouldn't have gotten angry with these ignorant haters. If I got angry because of their shit, I would be at a disadvantage and fall into their trap. Truly experienced celebrities must have a heart that wouldn't change even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of them. They must understand that being liked by others is popularity and being hated is also popularity. As a celebrity, they can't be afraid of being flamed or scolded. Being forgotten is the saddest thing. Just look at me right now, getting on the trending topic list just because of a small matter. Many people are envious of me. But I understand all of this, but I'm not happy. I'm not the kind of weakling who would offer the right side of my face for money after being slapped on the left. I know fame brings money, but I have to stand and earn this money. I can only gain fame by being flamed and scolded by others. I'm sorry. I don't want to rely on this fame to earn money. I'm not that despicable. You can grab hold of me and spit as much as you want. There's not much time left for you. Actually, everyone knew that he didn't go overboard this time. It was just signing up for 8 elective courses, even if it was just 8 minor languages. It wasn't as exaggerated as one might imagine. It wasn't to the extent of being flamed. So, what if I can't pass the final exam? He didn't steal or rob, nor did he eat anyone's rice. Even if he really wanted to do something behind the scenes and force himself not to fail, so what? How could there be a lack of people in the country who did such things behind the scenes. There was really no need to be surprised. There was another reason why things had turned out this way. On the one hand, it was because the school was not in the right place from the beginning. Under the incitement of the boys from the School of Foreign Languages, the overall trend on the school forum was still to slander him. On the other hand, although the major media outlets tried their best to remain neutral in their reports to avoid igniting a fire, they couldn't control the overall atmosphere in the comment section. Recently, Chen Guang's image had been too positive. Many people who had opinions about him wanted to criticize him, but couldn't find any fault. As the saying goes, it's better to disperse than to block, and it's better to guide than to disperse. These diehards' dissatisfaction with Chen Guang was deep-rooted. Not being able to find fault with Chen Guang would not change their minds. It would only continue to accumulate resentment in their hearts. Now, even a little bit of bad news was enough to become a vent for these people to crazily pour out their anger. People with dark minds always had a natural aversion to perfect things or people. For these keyboard warriors and trolls who lived on the other side of the internet, destroying perfect people and things could give them unimaginable pleasure. Trolls were the most unpredictable group in the world. Perhaps in real life, these people were well-dressed and behaved politely. But once they picked up their phones or sat in front of their computers, it was as if they were wearing the mask of a disguised geek. In an instant, they would become another person with a hideous and ugly face. The haters who spouted dirty words were all beginners. The truly skilled haters could find a way to express themselves in any situation. Their angles were extremely tricky, like a venomous snake jumping out of its hole, revealing its ferocious fangs. They used their vicious words and language to deal a fatal blow to the people in the comment section and the person in question. Just like some people doing charity, it was a good thing in the eyes of ordinary people. But in the eyes of trolls, they believed that there must be something fishy about it. People who do charity must be making money in the name of charity. There were indeed people who did such despicable things, but not everyone in the world was like that. Trolls did not understand this simple truth, or perhaps they were pretending not to understand. They were always able to project the darkness in their hearts onto others. As dark as they were, they felt that everyone else was as dark as they were. If others produced detailed statements to prove that the accounts were clean, the trolls would say that on the surface, you did not use charity to make money, but you did make a name for yourself, and you used your reputation to make money. What you said made so much sense that I had nothing to say in response. These words could often make people feel disgusted, but his logic was self-contained. Chen Guang's matter was just a small matter to begin with, but in the end, it caused the azure starry sky's momentum to go astray. When it was exposed to the media, those haters who had been suppressed for a long time finally found a target and pounced forth like mad dogs with their teeth bared. The combination of these two factors immediately caused this matter to reach this point on the internet at an extremely fast speed. The popularity of this topic on Weibo was even catching up to the scandal of a certain celebrity cheating. The number of topics was almost on par with each other. Just how free are these B******stards? Chen Guang rolled his eyes and replied to the few people who were concerned about this matter, telling them not to worry. Then, he covered his head with a blanket. Who cares about the flood outside? I only care about having a good night's sleep. Early the next morning, Chen Guang did not pay attention to the outside world. After getting up, he ran to the study room and focused on reading his sage books. However, the domestic online world had already been stirred up by a piece of breaking news. That's right, after a series of intense negotiations, Tianguang Brokerage officially entered the work of organizing the World Language Conference. The rich and imposing Tianguang Brokerage invested $50 million, raising the original budget of less than $10 million to the total budget of the academic forum to $60 million. The originally stillborn competition segment had taken a turn for the better. The list of invited participants had skyrocketed from the original 1,000 or so people to 3,000. The entire flight tickets, accommodation, and 3 meals a day were all covered. They even opened up the registration criteria to the entire world. Even if you were not on the invitation list, you could still participate through the online qualifiers. As long as you could prove that you had mastered 5 distinct languages, you could enjoy 3 free public travel packages. It was said that the major Chinese consulates around the world would even give special treatment to those who wanted to participate in the competition. It was said to be the most difficult Chinese visa to obtain in the world. As long as you had all the necessary information, you could even get it signed on the same day. Other than that, the cash prize of 100,000 renminbi, which was originally better than nothing, was directly raised to nearly $2 million. Of course, under Chen Guang's instructions, Bai Hua took the initiative to help pull the strings, and Central TV's deputy station head Liu intervened. Tianguang Brokerage also spent a lot of money to buy out the conference's live broadcast rights, online broadcast rights, advertising rights, and other rights that could generate huge profits. They only left the original organizer, the Chinese Language Association, with a 10% share of the profits. Chen Guang and his Tianguang Brokerage were very rich, but they also had a big business to support. They had to support hundreds of employees, so they couldn't go against their own money. They still had to fight for the profits that needed to be fought for appropriately. The Chinese Language Association originally had some complaints about Tianguang Brokerage's 90% share of the profits. However, Bai Hua made a phone call to Secretary Chu. This was a small matter, and Secretary Chu could settle it with just a call. Unbeknownst to anyone, this matter had made its way from the center of Huaxia's power to the ears of the president of the Huaxia Language Association. If Bai Hua had not stopped him in time, this old man would have taken away the 10% share that the Language Association was supposed to get. After the matter was settled, the Chinese Language Association and Tianguang Brokerage's representative, Yu Hong, appeared at an impromptu press conference at around 11 a.m. Many reporters from the major media outlets in Beijing rushed over and witnessed with their own eyes what was probably the fastest business collaboration in history that was worth $500 million RMB. The press conference lasted less than 15 minutes before it was announced that it was adjourned. Many reporters in the venue had already started preparing their scripts. Before the press conference was over, all kinds of announcements appeared on the major media outlets like snowflakes. All-rounder Chen Guang announces that he will participate in the World Language Conference competition to be held in Beijing next week. Unable to bear the humiliation, all-rounder Chen Guang has decided to prove himself. He will compete with more than 2,000 language geniuses from all over the world at the World Language Conference. Science Guide. What is the World Language Conference? What is a competition? Bamboo Live announces that the World Language Conference competition will be broadcasted live online. What kind of exciting show will the gold medal duo of Chen Guang and Bamboo Live bring us? A tiger's but cannot be touched. It's fine if he doesn't make a sound, but amazes the world with a single brilliant feat. Greetings from the face-slapping king, Chen Guang. In the face of doubt, the most powerful counterattack is to step onto the highest stage to prove yourself. How petty is Chen Guang? Can't he just touch a tiger's butt? Countless painful lessons have yet to make Chen Guang's haters wake up. Who will have the last laugh this time? Please wait and see. You say he doesn't know 8 foreign languages? He might as well step onto the world stage. The market value of Bamboo Live is expected to rise. Can the best IP Chen Guang create glory again? The birth of the strongest lying down live streaming platform. Whoever has Chen Guang will have the world. Soy Milk Live CEO. There's no reason why Chen Guang can do everything. There's no reason why Bamboo can win every time. The overly conceited Chen Guang dabbles too much and underestimates the heroes of the world. He will meet his Waterloo. Professor Liu, a senior expert from Yenjing University of Foreign Languages, Chen Guang doesn't know that there are real geniuses in the world who have mastered more than 40 languages. I'm waiting to see him make a fool of himself. This overwhelming announcement, coupled with a live broadcast or edited video of the conference on news and information websites, completely pushed the storm of the 8 foreign language elective courses that had been brewing for 2 days to the peak. China's online world exploded in an instant. It was just a small incident of signing up for an elective course, yet it could cause such a ruckus. He was probably the first person in history who would never be able to do such a thing. Chapter 840. Even those people who had been following the trend of defaming Qin Guang had not expected this guy to be so crazy. Seeing that he had not made any direct response for the past 2 days, they had thought that he would just obediently admit defeat this time. Almost everyone thought that he would probably quietly cancel all those 8 laughable elective courses. Even Qin Guang's fans felt that Brother Allrounder's luck was not too good this time. He had wanted to quietly get some credits, but he had been found out. But it didn't matter. How big of a deal was signing up for an elective course? Even if Brother Allrounder had quietly admitted defeat this time, they would still love him all the same.
Wah.
No one really believed that he would really do it. In the end, this guy actually accepted the World Language Conference without saying a word. Not only did he not admit defeat, he even made such a big move. The competition segment of the World Language Conference? Super high prize money. Global selection of contestants. Food, accommodation, chartered plane tickets, and visa were all given the most prestigious treatment for the contestants. It was as if he had clearly put down his big face and stretched it out in front of all the language geniuses in the world. Come on, come and slap my face. I'll pay you guys to come and teach me a lesson. He was clearly telling everyone. Do you guys think that I don't know 8 foreign languages? Then I'll buy a big stage for myself. I'll just have to tell you guys whether or not I know how to, whether or not I have the ability. Qin Guang's fans expressed that Brother Allrounder's fans would gain a lot of face. So, King domineering. At this time, those people who were defaming Qin Guang could not remain calm. We're just scolding you online. It's not like you have a lot of meat on you. Do you have to be so extravagant? 50 million. Do you have so much money to burn? Are you really that stingy? They did not know why, but these haters and trolls felt an inexplicable panic in their hearts. Could it be that this guy was really planning to do what he did in the past? When faced with doubts, he would create a big stage and then ruthlessly slap the faces of those who were defaming him. Could it be that this guy had real skills? 8 foreign languages? Stop messing around. I don't believe it. A person's energy is limited. You're only 20 years old. Where would you have the time and energy to learn so many foreign languages? You're not a 200-year-old monster. The haters and keyboard warriors hiding behind the internet cables rubbed their burning cheeks and gritted their teeth in anger. In fact, it wasn't just these trolls who didn't believe it. Even the experienced experts and scholars in the field of language didn't believe it either. The longer they worked in the field, the more they understood how difficult it was to master a language. Apart from that, he had raised the reward to a level that was tempting enough to attract the true geniuses who had awakened in the Broca area. In the past World Language Conference competitions, people who had mastered about 10 foreign languages could easily win the championship. However, everyone knew that learning 10 foreign languages might be extremely difficult for ordinary people, but it wasn't impossible for professionals. For true geniuses who had awakened in the Broca region, it was even easier. For those monsters who were naturally sensitive to languages, mastering 10 languages was a basic requirement if they put in a little more effort. If they had been studying languages for a longer period of time, it was not impossible for them to have mastered more than 20 languages. However, it was relatively rare for more than 30 of them to have the ability to communicate, but it wasn't as if there were none. Peerless geniuses who could speak and communicate with people in more than 50 languages also existed. In history, there had even been super geniuses who could speak 70 languages and read and write in another 56. Although Qin Guang had already proven his strength in many fields, he was really too arrogant this time. At least in the field of language, God was never fair. Even the most experienced linguists weren't willing to compete with those awakened geniuses from the Broca region. It was just like how a dwarf would never be able to outrun a normal person. Everyone's leg length was different. 1 step for a dwarf was equivalent to 3 steps for a dwarf. What were you going to do to compete? Was there something wrong with you? Did you have a bone to pick with your money? Did you really think that you were invincible no matter what you did? That was the biggest joke in the world. Just wait to be embarrassed. Qin Guang didn't know that his very casual decision would be interpreted so much after it was officially announced to the public. He was just calmly reading his book with Sun Xiaoxuan and the others in the study room. Huh? Brother Guang, aren't you going to take the Introduction to Environmental Impact Assessment next? Why are you reading environmental economics? Seeing that the exam time was getting closer and closer, Lin Jingwei, who had been upset all morning, couldn't help but point at the book in Chen Guang's hand. Chen Guang also looked at his watch, put down the book, and smiled mysteriously. Young man, you don't understand. You have to respect the god of exams. In the future, if you want to take the postgraduate and doctoral exams, you have to burn incense in front of my photo every day. You can't be so pretentious, can you? Do you think the Introduction to Environmental Impact Assessment is easy to take? It's all rote memorization, and it's a closed book. It would be strange if you didn't read books. I've checked. This compulsory course won't be available next semester, and you won't even have the chance to retake it. If you fail this time, you'll have to come back to school for the exam halfway through your work. Don't blame me for not reminding you then. Lin Jingwei said angrily. Bai Fan, who was messing around on the side, was fiddling with his phone. Suddenly, his eyes lit up when he saw the news report of Tianguang Agency and the Chinese Language Association.
Huh?
Isn't this Brother Guang's company? Are they causing trouble? F***CK. What the F***CK is this? Am I blind? Bai Fan pointed at the long title of the news on his phone, his face full of confusion. The others also moved their heads over to take a look. They were shocked when they saw what was going on. Chen Guang, who had already guessed the content of the news, didn't even raise his head. He was still engrossed in his environmental economics book, muttering like he was chanting scriptures. The trading of emission permits refers to within a certain area. On the other side, Lin Jingwei and the others scanned through the shocking news at lightning speed, but saw that Chen Guang was still engrossed in his book. They couldn't hold it in anymore. Brother Guang, it says here that you spent 50 million on that world language competition. Is that true? Are you crazy? Xiong, yelled at Chen Guang's ear with his loud, broken voice. Chen Guang's head was shaken to the point of dizziness. He dug his ear with his fingers and patted Xiong on the head. You're making a fuss out of nothing. Are you trying to make me deaf? It's not a big deal. Behave yourselves. But it's 50 million. It's written here that the total prize pool is 10 million. Bai Fan said again. Chen Guang finally put down his book and looked up in deep thought.
Huh?
The prize pool is only 10 million? That's less than $2 million US. That's not good. No, I'll call them later and ask them to make the prize pool bigger. Sun Xiaoxuan, Gaoya, and Lin Jingwei all looked at him as if he was crazy. They didn't even want to say a word. Chen Guang saw their incredulous expressions and didn't bother to explain to them. He just smiled coldly. Humph. Have you all forgotten the painful lessons of the past? You forced me to do this. It seemed that the old man could only use his ultimate trick to slap himself in the face. Let me tell you, when I act tough, I don't care about anyone. Just as he was thinking, Chen Guang's phone suddenly rang. He picked it up and saw that it was a message from Azure Sky's mobile app. The Modern Chemistry 4 exam was out the day before yesterday. Fine, I was just about to slap you in the face. Isn't this the opportunity? I'll just slap you a little to calm myself down. He picked up his phone, opened the app, and winked at them. All right, forget about the World Language Conference. It's really not a big deal. Don't be fooled by the uproar on the internet. It's just a trivial matter to me. Come on, the results of the Modern Chemistry exam are out. How about it? I'm not bragging, am I? Although this course was taken by Nicosia, and he didn't really want to brag about it, these people were trampling on him. If he didn't teach them a lesson, they wouldn't know who he was. Didn't you say that I couldn't pass this course? Didn't I pass now? They looked at the bright red 100 marks on the app. Their mouths were wide open, and they were also shocked. This guy really wasn't bragging? Full marks? So sci-fi? Even the straight-A student, Sun Xiaoxuan, didn't get full marks. Even the straight-A student, Shandong Laotian, didn't get full marks, but you got full marks. Chen Guang felt much better when he saw that they were about to lose their minds from shock. He put away his phone and stood up. All right, let's eat lunch. The exam is after lunch. Don't be obsessed with me. I'm a legend. Chun Guang ran like the wind, leaving behind a cool, domineering, and handsome silhouette. Sun Xiaoxuan and the others took a while to recover and quickly got up to chase after him. As they got closer, they heard Chun Guang talking to someone on the phone. "Old you, I saw the news. Well done. Quite efficient. I didn't expect you guys to reach an agreement so quickly. Yeah, of course we have to fight for what's ours. Oh right, there's one more thing. I don't have any other requests, but the prize pool is a little too stingy. We have to increase it. Increase it to 100 million renminbi. Don't be too much." You didn't hear wrong. I'm not joking. 100 million. The company's liquidity should be just enough, right? All right, that's settled. Let's talk later. I'm a little busy right now. On this side, Chun Guang hung up the phone after he finished speaking. The eyes of the people behind him twitched. Crazy. Completely crazy. Is this what you meant by making it bigger? A little? Your family's a little is 10 times. The 50 million sponsorship from before was not enough. Now this guy actually increased the prize pool from 10 million to 100 million in an instant. It's really rounded up to 100 million. This meant that the 50 million sponsorship in the news had instantly turned into 140 million. Crazy. This guy was definitely a lunatic. No, I have to call 120 and get a doctor. I have to send him to a mental hospital immediately for a checkup. Otherwise, he would lose all of his assets in a matter of minutes. The few of them had received quite a bit of stimulation in this short period of time. Even Lin Jingwei, who was used to seeing the world, felt that his brain couldn't wrap itself around it. This is a small game. It's not the UEFA Champions League or the World Cup. How can you spend money like this? Aren't you giving it for free? You're not just going against the money. You're going against your own life. Chapter 841. Sensing the 5 gazes behind him, Chun Guang turned around and asked, "What? Are you trying to stop me? That's impossible. I'm not joking. What the F***, CK? Hurry up and change your mind." Lin Jingwei pounced on him. Bai Nyangzi rushed up and hugged his thigh. "My brother, you can't waste money like this. Why don't you invest in my novel and make it into a movie or TV series? You can hype it up. Even if it's a flop, you can at least earn some money back. At least you can get some bubbles. Look at the 300 million box office sales of other people's novels." Xiong Jinka, on the other hand, gave him a bear hug and wanted to carry him directly into the mental hospital. Even Sun Xiaoxuan, who had almost blind faith in him, did not stand on his side this time. He almost cried and said, "Chun Guang, don't do this. Although we all know that you don't lack money now, it's not easy for you to earn a family business. You should hire a professional manager to help you take care of these things. Don't mess around like this." Chun Guang covered his ears. He really couldn't say anything to these people. He knew that in the eyes of ordinary people, his current behavior might seem a bit like a lunatic. Even Yu Hong questioned his decision on the phone just now. But he did not intend to change his mind. Even if the total prize pool increased from 10 million to 100 million, the prize money prepared for the champion accounted for half of the total prize pool, which was 50 million. This champion must be him. He could not let it go to anyone else. Therefore, in the eyes of others, he was giving away 100 million crazily, but in fact, he was only giving away 50 million. The new sponsorship plan, compared to the previous sponsorship plan, only increased the actual expenditure by about 45 million, which was not unacceptable. In addition, this was probably the highest prize pool for a niche academic forum competition in human history. It was n times higher than the prize money of the Nobel Prize. This could make the World Language Conference, which was originally not valued and very marginalized, instantly gain unimaginable popularity and attention. In China, perhaps because of his participation in the competition, this niche academic forum was naturally popular. But overseas, looking at the international scene, his name was not so useful. In order to make the world's language society receive international attention, what could be simpler and more effective than creating such an exaggerated and almost abnormal prize pool? It was impossible for foreigners to remain calm in a language competition that had the same prize money as the Champions League, right? Any problem that could be solved with money was not a problem. How much effort would be saved in advertising and promotion? I'll just throw in money to save time, effort, and worry. His seemingly crazy behavior was actually killing two birds with one stone. Since the attention of the World's Language Club had increased, wouldn't it be more valuable when they were talking about sponsors? If he wanted to own the statue in one fell swoop, shouldn't he attract all the people who are talented in languages? Geniuses were always proud. 10 million yuan, which was less than $2 million, might not be enough to move these geniuses. However, there was a saying that humans were reserved because they were not tempted enough. With a total prize pool of almost $20 million, even the most arrogant genius in the world had to lower his noble head and fly here from all over the world with absolute confidence in his own abilities, becoming a stepping stone for him to ascend to the throne. The stronger his opponent was, the more indisputable recognition and worship he would receive when he reached the top. The brighter the pile of bones in front of the throne, the more dazzling his crown as the king of languages would be. I didn't want to wait until I won this match, only to have someone suddenly jump out and express dissatisfaction with me, saying that I won this time because I was planting sweet potatoes at home and didn't have time to deal with you. If I show up, you'll have to kneel on the ground and sing "Conquer" at any moment. The best thing about this kind of person was that he could describe things that didn't happen as if they were true, and his theory was as flawless as Schrödinger's cat. It made me feel disgusted and helpless, but I couldn't really compete with him alone. But he really didn't come, so I can't say that I'm definitely better than him. So, it was really worth it to fork out an extra 45 million in cash. The experience of many successful projects proved that for the super content provider, the omnipotent Superman Chen Guang, it was too easy to make money. Money was just a worldly possession. Only faith points were eternal. For the first statue of a god in the middle realm of the Silver Line Cup, I'll give away the prize pool of 50 million, okay? I can earn it back anyway. Of course, the premise of his whole set of theories was based on the situation where he was sure that he could win. If he lost, then he would have to give away 100 million, which was quite an exaggeration. Sun Xiaoxuan, Lin Jingwei, and the others couldn't sit still because of this. So geniuses were often not understood by others, and there was only a thin line between them and lunatics. Others couldn't understand where Chen Guang's confidence came from, and they felt that he was already crazy. Only he himself understood that he couldn't lose. Because I'm a genius. Okay, I'm begging you. Facts speak louder than words, okay? You won't believe anything I say now, but I know my own situation very well. I have a whole set of plans, and I won't lose anything. Why don't you think about it? Haven't I never lost anything before? When I say that I can do something, have I never gone back on my words? If you guys continue like this, I won't come to school anymore, okay? I'm scared of you guys. Chen Guang couldn't be reasoned with, so he decided to play rogue with Sun Xiaoxuan and the others. He also knew that they were doing this for his own good. But they were at different levels and their thoughts were completely different. Just like how summer insects can't talk about ice, even if they argued with each other for another year, they wouldn't be able to convince each other. The only thing he could do now was to play around with them and then wait until next week. He would beat the world's heroes in the language competition. At that time, action would be the most advantageous counterattack. This group of idiots would know just how ignorant they were. Okay, don't say any more. I have to take the exam after lunch. This is more important than 100 million in my heart. Everyone stared at him.
Damn.
If the teacher who teaches you the Introduction to Environmental Impact Assessment knew that his course was so important to you, would he be so moved that he would cry? After a while, Chen Guang finally pushed the doubts of this group of frogs at the bottom of the well to the floor. After lunch, he was too lazy to talk anymore. He carried his bag and trotted all the way to a teaching building, ignoring these people's grief-stricken faces. Sitting in the examination room, there were about 10 minutes before the papers were distributed. He was too lazy to pay attention to the curious eyes of the other boys in the same exam. His left hand held the textbook, his right hand held the cup, and he calculated the faith value in his heart. More than 2 million, very good. Deluxe edition, let's go. When he entered the world in the cup, Lu Ming advised him not to use faith value like this and let Nicosia write for him. I say, you're really something. Why didn't you use such a powerful gunner? Why did you have to do it yourself? Aren't you crazy? Lu Ming teased. Chen Guang's face glowed with a majestic light. He waved his hand and said righteously, when I was young, I stole needles. When I grew up, I stole cows. Today, I let someone else do it for me just for a makeup exam. How can I face my upright life in the future? When I face a life and death crisis in the test of the world in the cup, will there be someone who can do it for me? Lu Ming, you and Liuli don't know what other secrets this heavenly holy grail has. I have to rely on myself. God knows how many difficulties and dangers await me in front of me to become the true master of the Holy Grail. Will there be someone who can do these things for me? Confucius said, don't do good because it's small. Don't do evil because it's small. Stop, stop, stop. Lu Ming waved a leaf and covered this guy's mouth. Nicosia's soul, who had been floating in the void, also heard the righteous words of Chen Guang transmitted by Lu Ming. She fiercely muttered to herself, F***CK. Do you think I want to help you? Idiot master of the Holy Grail. After breaking free from Lu Ming's leaf, Chen Guang's heart was calm. Today, I am still upright.
Come on.
Introduction to Environmental Impact Assessment. World in the Cup. This name sounds a little strange? Forget it. Don't mind the details. Ever since he obtained the heavenly Holy Grail, this was probably the first time that Chen Guang used the function of the Holy Grail for learning. He himself did not know what it would be like to use the deluxe version of the world in the cup to study, but he was rather looking forward to it. With a tilt of his head, his spiritual body floated up from the cloud city and was sucked into the dark space-time tunnel with a whoosh. Nicosia was still complaining. This guy's Chinibu syndrome is getting worse. Suddenly, she also felt that her soul was beginning to feel a suction force from the void. Nicosia had a lot of experience with this. After all, many times before when Chen Guang underwent customized special training in the world in the cup, she was the one who was drawn to be a prop, such as transforming into all kinds of fancy fitness equipment. This was also the real reason why Goddess Liuli spared her life back then. She was gradually getting used to this. Although it was a little disgusting, she just took it as the price for the opportunity to have eternal life. She gritted her teeth and endured it. Since he wants to read and learn this time, I will probably become a book. This was what Nicosia thought in her heart before her soul was completely sucked out. Suddenly, her fingers twitched. The long-awaited feeling of having a real body inexplicably came from her fingertips. This feeling was so familiar, but also so strange. Just the feeling of her index finger rubbing against her thumb made her heart tremble, and her eyes almost became moist. That's not right, I actually have tears too. Nicosia slowly opened her eyes and raised her right hand slightly. Looking at her white palm and slender fingers, her breathing gradually quickened. This time, I actually became a human.
God.
Oh no, it's Goddess Liuli. She subconsciously roared in her heart. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.